Welcome to Slocum 365 Radio.
Brewer wants a bunch, left side, got it! Touchdown, Denzel Mims!
To the right side on the move, touchdown OU. CD for the TD.
Slocum 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
On 3rd and 7, Duffy over the middle, tipped, intercepted, Johnston. Backfield for Ellinger. Sam under pressure, Ellinger sacked. All right, how about this? Alex Drench defense, Neville Gallimore.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Ellinger under pressure, sack. James Lynch. He's got the number now. He's now the all-time sack leader. Duke at midfield trying to hang around. Harris loads up and throws, and it's intercepted. Trayvon Diggs.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to week number 4, episode 16 of Slocum 365 Radio. That's Craig Smoke. I'm David Smoke, and he is Paul Catalina, who just produced that open with all the highlights involving those drafted. Not everybody, because there were a lot. 200 and some players are signed as undrafted free agents from the NFL draft. Baylor with 14 players who signed undrafted free agent contracts and or were drafted. Of course, Denzel Mims and James Lynch, the first two to go. We discussed Mims and Lynch going most likely on Friday. Lynch went on Saturday. They will join us today on this show. Carolina Panthers head coach Matt Rhule expected to be with us at 3:15. R.C. Slocum at 4. How about the story involving Sam Tecklenburg, one of many Baylor players, undrafted, but he's going to join, in fact, Matt Rhule at Carolina. Plus, today we'll also hear from Dane Brugler from theathletic.com on the NFL draft, his summary, and Robinson High School. Robert Rubel, the new head coach, he's been their defensive coordinator for a couple of years. He'll join us today at 3:45. That's a lot of people that Baylor has now in the NFL. Not everybody drafted. Just what? How many players were drafted? Clay Johnston?
Yeah, there were 4 guys drafted overall and 14 total players signing with NFL teams.
Do you remember back, Paul, when Matt Rhule arrived, and a lot of people were kind of almost not disturbed but frustrated when he always mentioned how he wanted to groom players to become professional that would be in camps. And, you know, we heard Craylin Arnold, Jamison Houston, a lot of these guys say there's going to be a bunch of guys in camps if there are camps. And we'll have an update from the governor and Governor Abbott with what he said to the state of Texas today in just the last half an hour. 14 players. That's a chunk.
Yeah, that's a chunk. And 10 of them free agent contracts, which is a big number for anybody. You know, look, LSU got 14 players drafted overall, but to get 14 players signed off a team that was 1-11 3 years ago is really, really impressive. And most of those guys were on that team and the way that the draft fell for Baylor, I thought they might have gotten one more player in there. I was really shocked about Craylin Arnold, just given his flexibility, but that might have been just because of his size. He falls in a great spot. He goes to Philly. I think everybody who got signed or drafted fell in a good spot for them individually.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't broken down the positional needs of certain teams and where these Baylor undrafted free agents are going and what holes they may be able to fill or what competition they'll be facing. But the good news is they have an opportunity, and that's all that a lot of these guys were wanting was just the opportunity. And I would imagine that there are probably a few like a Ross Matisic who maybe didn't think he was going to ever have a chance to play in the NFL, and yet here he is signing an undrafted free agent contract, somebody that was never brought up throughout the draft process, but just because when do you bring up long snappers? But that's how much respect and prove it Matt Rhule was able to do in his 3 years at Baylor, to where, you know, even guys who you maybe even didn't see that much or even know that much about are getting picked up with the NFL as well. So yeah, I think the draft could have gone a little bit differently. Maybe James Lynch goes a round higher. He goes on Friday. Maybe Craylin Arnold gets picked and gives him 5, but Clay Johnston getting picked wasn't a guarantee. Bravion going to Carolina wasn't a guarantee. So I think for those guys that did get drafted, it worked out well, and we'll see how many of these guys can make teams whenever that time comes. But 14 players, I mean, that's nothing to shake a stick at.
Yeah, I actually think if I had to pick who would make teams as undrafted free agents, my best bets would be Graylin Arnold because of his special teams and because he can pick off passes. And I'm gonna throw this one out there, kind of a long shot, is James Lockhart, because he went to the Steelers, correct? He's got that kind of Steelers mentality. Now, he might be in a practice squad for a little while, but I would not be surprised to see him actually get downs on the field in his rookie year. And Blake Lynch, I think, he's the one I'm watching the most because he's so super athletic. You would think that a team, and especially one like the Vikings and Mike Zimmer, would find a role for a guy like that.
Well, it was great to see a lot of these young men, get an opportunity whenever that is. It's all viral or virtual, virtual now. One of the ones that was the shocker to me, Sam Tecklenburg, who had retired from football. He'll join us today at 4:45. He had conversations with Matt Rhule. Of course, Bravion Roy hooked up with the Panthers. There's a couple of players that probably weren't real thrilled about Matt Rhule not drafting them as they went by Carolina, as the Panthers made some picks as well. So, James Lynch, 4:30, Denzel Mims, 5:30, Sam Tecklenburg at 4:45, Matt Rhule coming up, and then also R.C. Slocum at 4 o'clock today, among others as well. Hey, tomorrow, Hall of Famer Rayfield Wright will join us. Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator who knows a lot of these players, as we release our all-decade team. Brian Etheridge has been working hard on that along with others on staff. We'll release the defense tomorrow, and Phil Bennett will join us tomorrow at 5. And Adrian Peterson tomorrow at 5:30. Those are just some of the names. And so is Baylor offensive coordinator Larry Fedora as a part of the show to start it off as well. So let's go over this real quick because obviously everyone's waiting. Governor Abbott has announced the executive order to stay at home will expire April 30th. That's later this week. He also mentioned there's phase 1 and now phase 2. Phase 2 proceeds later, like mid-May, if Texans can contain the spread. He said businesses will open in phases. Phase 1 begins Friday. Phase 2, May 18th. Phase 1 includes all retail restaurants, movie theaters, and malls, but occupancy limited to no more than 25%. Phase 2 will expand occupancy to 50% if COVID-19 remains contained. Also, museums, libraries can open at 25% occupancy, and any require hands-on to remain closed.
Hands-on exhibits.
Hands-on exhibits, yeah, exactly. He hopes for bars, gyms, barbershops, and salons, sometimes that can be, to go get ahead, reopened by sometime in mid-May if they remain contained. And that's all up. You can go to pretty much anywhere to look at that. But that's an update, of course, for you as well today on COVID-19 and how it affects the state of Texas. I think most people thought maybe it'd be even more loose than that, and I think he's just being smart.
I think it's a great first step to just get businesses back open, and I want to say thank you to our great sponsors who have been advertising with us over the last 3 weeks since we launched, who have just been tremendous in their support. But, yeah, this is a great start just to kind of get your foot back in the door, and hopefully we can put both feet back inside and it goes really smoothly instead of foot goes in and then you go, uh-oh, and you got to pull it right back out real quick and go, oh, no, this is not what we're going to be able to do right now.
Yeah, and I think there's probably a lot of things that we don't know about how this is going to go, but I do like that we're trying something as opposed to just sitting around and waiting for an all clear that may never come and may never even be needed.
Exactly.
So, yeah, let's see what happens, and that's why this is in phases. It's not, okay, it's over, everybody go back to normal. Let's roll it out piece by piece and see what happens. And then if we are really, stopping the spread and flattening the curve and all that, then we can get back to our lives as normal. It's
so
good.
Thanks to owners Brian Etheridge, obviously Ashley Hodge, thanks to Colt Barber, among many others, for setting us up again for the week. We're getting close. We're still a couple of things to add within the next 7 days that we're seriously excited about. And we'll be able to kind of get into that a little bit with you as well. Taking phone calls, the app, among other things as well that are right on the horizon. Coming up, Matt Rhule, one of 32 jobs in the world. Head coach of the Carolina Panthers on his first experience as the general manager. His thoughts about Baylor players he has picked up and those who went elsewhere. Next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and to support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at IdealMRI.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
We're approaching the time to announce the 10th Annual Academic All-Stars Team, 20 elite student athletes who excel in both academic and athletic competition from Central Texas high schools. And right now, focused on the nominations that have come through so many great young men and women to choose from. Hi, this is David Smoke. Our title sponsor, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952. 2020 Academic All-Stars program is also brought to you by
Westdale Asset Management, Englander Design Pack, Bentwood Realty, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Coca-Cola of Waco, Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, HEB, the McLean Group, Universal Windows Direct, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and the Waco Foundation.
We will announce the team on Friday, May the 1st, and highlight them throughout the month of May. It's the 10th Annual Academic All-Stars Team, highlighting the elite student athletes in Greater Central Texas, right here on Sikkim 365 Radio.
This NFL draft segment on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac at the Imperial exit off Loop 340 in Waco.
Yeah, we came into this with a priority of really getting some young, explosive, dynamic defensive players and really address the offense and free agency. Extended Christian, which obviously was a huge thing for the entire organization. And I think Marty Herney has come in with a great plan, and I think we together have a vision for how we're going to move forward.
That's the voice of Carolina Panthers head coach, former Baylor head coach Matt Rhule. NFL draft, of course, wrapped up. And now, well, everyone kind of in a holding pattern. We will hear from Panthers undrafted free agent Sam Tecklenburg today at 4:45, plus James Lynch, Denzel Mims, and more. But we're now joined by Panthers head coach Matt Rhule on Sikkim 365 Radio with Craig Smoke, David Smoke, and Paul Catalina. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being a part of it, and thanks for being a part of our show. Was it all of what you thought it would be experiencing the draft, even though it was under such unique circumstances?
I think on our end, it was a great experience, first of all, and it was fun. My wife sat, my desk was here. My wife sat in the chair on the other side of the camera, so she could, it was fun for her to, hear the banter, hear the conversations, and to experience it with my son. I thought those things were all really cool. And, but I had a great time. I was kind of, as a former Temple coach, watching 4 Temple kids get drafted, as the former Baylor coach, watching 4 Baylor kids get drafted, and as an NFL head coach, drafting 7 guys of my own. It was, it was unique and fun on a lot of different levels.
Well, now can you go back to doing the draft, especially your son? I'm sure he's got plenty of input. He's got to give you now in the 2021 draft, 2022, and moving on.
Yeah, I think while we'll obviously go back, I think we learned a lot about communication and stuff with how things were segmented. And, I think there's some things that we'll take away from this in terms of the flow of information. And, sometimes you get a bunch of people in a room and everyone's got an opinion and things get chaotic. And it was really cool to kind of go to one screen, pause, go to another screen, talk to them, get their opinion, go back, and then for the GM and I to sit there and talk at the very end. I thought there were some really good things we learned about it. And I think it really in life in general, whether it's school or anything right now, I think all of us are learning some new ways of doing things that maybe we'll bring with us after this is all over.
Coach, a lot of people had wondered going into last week of whether or not a Baylor player would find his way onto the Carolina roster, and sure enough, Bravion Roy got that call from your franchise over the weekend. Got to see an interview he did with your team website. That was a lot of fun. Can you just take us through the process of landing on Bravion as your choice and what it was like to be able to make that phone call to a former player of yours and say, hey, we're going to reconnect again?
Well, the process with Bravion started at the very beginning. When I first got the job, I was here and I was working, and Marty Herney was at the East-West game. And he called me and said, boy, I tell you what, Bravion Roy is a beast. He's having a great all-star game. And I said, yeah, I know. Watch, he'll go to his pro day and he'll crush it. And he didn't get invited to the combine, which was a surprise. It was a disappointment. And then when they didn't have pro days, I think it really kind of set him back. And so we knew his athleticism, we knew his character, we knew all those things about him, and felt like, if he's there late, he was someone we absolutely wanted. And it was hard for me to see Denzel get drafted. Denzel would have helped us so much, but obviously, he went to the right place for him, and James went, and didn't want Bravion to go by. So he was the perfect addition for us. And you're right, making that call to him was really, really cool. I called him and didn't right away say, hey, we want to draft you. I just kind of wanted to check in with him a little bit, just throw him off, and then said, hey, we want you to come to Panther. So excited to have him. And I know, again, you don't do these things, out of anything personal. You get the best guy, and I know we got one of the best guys in the draft.
Is there any comparison, Coach, Matt Rhule with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, is there any comparison whatsoever to the draft compared to National Signing Day that you've been through in the past?
Well, there's certainly a sense of hey, this is the lifeblood of your organization. This is how you build your team. And, there's certainly, you have to trust your evaluation, while you have people all around saying, hey, this is good or this is bad. What they're really saying is, does your evaluation match theirs? So you have to try to block out the outside noise of people saying, hey, this is good, this is bad, this is what you should do, and do what you think is right. And then also, for the players, I mean, it's the end of one era, it's the beginning of another, and it's always fun to see, guys get a chance to come to college, guys get a chance to go to the pros when they deserve it, and it's a life-changing moment for them. So, I tried to enjoy it. It's different. Obviously, you're not sitting there convincing someone to come. You're having to sit there and see who's available and make a disciplined decision in a short amount of time. So it was cool to be a part of.
7 picks, all on defense. You're the first organization to ever do that. Is that something you guys knew that you were going to do going in for sure? Or was it just, again, eventually how it falls? You were definitely going to focus on defense, and it just wound up that 7 guys went to you on D.
Yeah, it's kind of how it fell. I mean, we knew we were going to mainly prioritize the defense. we knew we needed to address defensive tackle and corner, and but there's some other, we wanted to get a young offensive lineman if we could. But as we went through it, a couple times where an offensive player was the next guy up for us, he got drafted within a couple spots, and we quickly pivoted and went to a defensive player. And so I think the biggest thing is, we have such a great staff that has no egos or anything like that. But most teams would never do that. They would never take 7 guys on one side of the ball because, the other side would be irate. But, Joe Brady and our offensive staff, they're such good guys, and they knew that we really addressed the offense in free agency. So it was time to address the defense. But I didn't go into it thinking, we'd go 7-0 on defense, but it's just kind of the way it worked out.
Coach, 14 players have signed contracts, and I know we'll talk about Sam Tecklenburg, who became the 14th yesterday in just a moment, but you promised a lot of things when you had your introductory speech at Baylor, and I think you pretty much checked every single one of them off now, especially with this NFL weekend. To see 14 guys from that team last year go off and have this opportunity, I know that a lot of y'all expected that, but to see it actually happen, what's that like for you?
Not bad for a guy from New Jersey.
Yeah, no kidding.
Not even from New Jersey, I'm from PA, but
yeah.
I think proud of the 2018 defense. I think 15 guys from that defense signed, and really the credit goes to those guys. We had faith in them, and I have faith in Phil Snow and especially Jeremy Scott in the weight room. And I remember when I took the job at Baylor, Jim Grove told me, he said, "Matt, it's such a good job. You have, you just don't mess it up. I mean, it should win. It didn't win because of it's not going to win just because of one person or one thing. Baylor's a place that's supposed to win because it's a special place. And I think those players worked so hard, and they drove themselves to be great. And so to see the guys get drafted, to see the guys be free agents, and here's the point I've made to them: because of the way they worked in college and what was demanded of them, the best is yet to come. I mean, there's going to be a guy that went somewhere as a free agent that's going to sign a really big deal in 4 or 5 years. In free agency for us, I signed Robbie Anderson. He made $20 million, and he was an undrafted free agent just 4 years ago. I think the lessons they learned at Baylor, the lessons they learned with the way that we did things, they're going to have great careers ahead of them.
I told you this before, that first year when, who knew what to expect from week to week. But I asked you one time, you kept mentioning to turn these guys into young men, first of all, but also that they would be good pros. And I kept, at one time I just finally said, man, how can you keep saying that when you haven't won a game and it's 0-6 or whatever? And you said, we're going to do that. Was over the weekend validation to what you thought would happen?
At the end of the day, when I said it because I knew it was true. So I don't even know that it needs validation, right? It's kind of fun for me to, tease you or tease someone else that, in a good way that, we went through this and you saw it on all sides and you were there in my office every Monday as we talked. And so, you've seen kind of, the process that we went through over 3 years. I think that for the end of the day, to me, it's a validation of those young guys, right? To see Clay get drafted, to see Henry Black sign a free agent deal, Jordan Williams sign a free agent deal. Then I'm just so proud of those things and proud of those guys. And so, at the end of the day, my goal in life is always to leave a place better than I found it. And I know we did that at Temple. And, I wanted to do that at Baylor. And I hope we did. I think we did from a football perspective. I know we did off the field as well. But to see these guys and see their lives, where they are, see the opportunities they're going to have. And you know what? We've got a great coach in Dave Aranda and a great staff and a great strength coach in Corey. And next year, there'll be a bunch of guys drafted off of that Baylor team. And so I think it really, verifies the work that those kids did.
Obviously, teams with new staffs might be a little behind the 8 ball when it comes to dealing with all of this and the new staff gelling with the players and organizationally, because you're not there with them. You're not going to get to have the same kind of mini camps or workouts that you would have in the past. How are you as an organization dealing with just getting to know the people on your team?
Yeah, I mean, in many respects, it puts you at a tremendous disadvantage. I mean, there's a reason why new coaches, they give an extra 2 weeks to. They give an extra mini camp right before the draft. But at the end of the day, nobody cares. Right? Like I always say that to our players. Like, you can have 1,000 reasons why, I didn't perform, you didn't perform, we didn't perform, but no one really cares. It's a performance-based business. And so, what we're trying to do is, we're trying to always build relationships. And I think the number one way you build a relationship is, you want the players to know that, the most important thing is them. And as people are going through this, coronavirus and we have guys on our team that live everywhere. Some are here in Charlotte, some are living in California. Some can't even get back to their homes in California or staying at a friend's. I mean, the thing I want them to know is, hey, we want you to do all this football stuff, but most importantly, I want you to take care of you and your family. And, we meet 2 hours a day, 4 days a week, virtually. We go over, the football and the systems, and we talk. And, I sat there today for 30 minutes and talked about process and all the same things those Baylor kids listened to, for 3 years. And you just hope that if we go through this together, if we're, compassionate towards each other and push each other, that we'll build good relationships now. And when we finally get back together, then we can take it to the next level.
Do you have to, I know you use the same message, but do you have to deliver it at all in a different way because you're dealing with professionals, guys who are making big money, or is it the same as what like you said, those Baylor guys were hearing just a few years ago or the last 3 years?
It's the same. I mean, professional athletes are here because they've done a lot of those same things. And so, I never tried to preach at the Baylor players. I would simply tell the Baylor players, hey, this is what I think is important. And as I sit here and talk to the guys now, I'd say, hey guys, these are the lessons I live my life by. This is what I think is important. And I think all you can do is send the messages and say the things that you believe in, and then hope that the people you're working with, that they listen and that they believe in it too. And so, but one thing I'll say is we have great guys on this team, and we have guys who are accomplished, and none of them, no one is great in anything they do in life if they don't do the right things. And the guys that we have are doing things, and so hopefully the message is something that they've done and they already believe in.
Carolina head football coach Matt Rhule with us on Sikkim 365 Radio the Monday after the draft. How difficult is it to separate emotions of what you know? You have Bravion. You did select him. You also signed Tecklenburg to an undrafted free agent. I don't know if he's signed yet, but that's going to happen. How difficult is it when you're on the clock and you see a guy that you know gave you 3 years of blood, sweat, and tears? Yes, fit matters as well. And you see him on the board, you need him, and yet you take somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the job. I mean, it's my job is not the fun stuff. My job's the hard stuff. And so, it's my responsibility to make the right decision. And I think the great thing about pro football is I'm not the one drafting, and we have a general manager, we have an owner. There's all these great checks and balances there that make sure that, you don't get caught too far one way or another. And so, there's some times where maybe I have more information about somebody, like, Sam had made a decision not to play, and so no one really knew that he was out there. He didn't play in the East-West game. Had he done those things, he probably would have ended up in this position. But because we had the information, I called him the other night and said, "Hey, you sure you don't want to play?" And he called me back the next day and said, "Yes, I do." So I think it's just my job to be disciplined and make decisions based on the right things. And pro football is a business, and so while it's fun to maybe draft someone you've coached, it's not fun to cut somebody that you've coached or let somebody go. And so, I think before you do this, you have to make sure you do it for the right reasons, because, these guys mean a lot to me. I don't want to disappoint them either.
All right, I've got an important question for you, Matt. You're here in Texas. We're the kings of barbecue, but now you're in North Carolina. They claim that they have good barbecue, and it's not bad. I've had it, but it's very different. So what's your assessment, Carolina versus Texas?
I have not been out of my house in a month, so let me say that first. But if I could, I would love nothing more than to go to Jasper's and see my friends over there. They were always such, our cat's name is Jasper that we brought to North Carolina. So if I could be back there, if I could go to Guest Brothers, if I could go to Jasper's, I would do it in a second. That being said, I'm also a smart enough man to know where I am, and I love Carolina barbecue as well.
Matt, you wanted teams when they played Baylor, even during the first year, to feel like when they came out of that game or before they played you, that they knew what they were going to have, what they're going to face. I heard you say that the other day about Carolina, that you when you play Carolina, this is what you want to have to deal with. Is that also the same, almost ditto, of what your philosophy was when you came to Baylor?
Absolutely. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you have to know you have to know who you are, and you have to know what you stand for. And, that's the only thing that gets you through difficult times, is saying, hey, this is who I am, and this is what I stand for. This is our brand of football, and this is how we're going to do it. And, that obviously it took time to put in place at Baylor. And by the end, I mean, people knew what they were going to deal with. It wasn't always going to be perfect or pretty, but it was going to be 60 minutes of physicality and toughness and execution and courageous performances by guys. And, that's what we want to be here. We want to be the same type of a team. The plays can look different. The players are different, but you can still stand for and do the same thing. And I can't give enough credit to the kids that we had on that team last year. I had a coach from the SEC, a defensive coordinator. He called and was trying to figure out how to visit. He said, you just have to tell Phil Snow and tell those players, he goes, I've never seen, in all my years, I've never seen a defense that played harder than the defense last year at Baylor. Well, that's not a product of the coaching, because we were saying the same things 3 years before. That was a decision made by the Chris Millers and the Graylin Arnolds and the Clay Johnstons and so many more, like James Lockhart, to play that way. And so we're going to try to do the same thing here, try to get the guys that believe in that, and hope that we can play the same way.
Looking back on it, based on everything you just said, was the Texas game kind of this year your opus of that, where everything came together, where people would know because of the way that you physically mauled that team so much that they had to take a timeout at the end of the game to get a garbage touchdown?
Well, that was certainly a great moment. And here's what was great about that moment. It came a week after one of the most disappointing losses in my career and in many people's careers, after that Oklahoma game, and after all the fanfare of college game day and of getting up and all the questions after that and the heartbreak and the hurt. The fact that those kids came back the next week and were resilient enough to go play probably their finest game on, offense, defense, and special teams. I think the third play of the game, or first play of the game, maybe we fumbled the ball, and they just overcame. And that was, I think early on, as I would talk to Smoke, I would always talk about on Monday's teams and how teams, bounce back from adversity and overcome injury and all these different things. And that was certainly a game that, I know I personally will never forget. And I think it was really, a great game for our players to remember, hey, this is what we stood for that season.
Coach, I know you've commented maybe here and there on Dave Aranda and just the future of Baylor football, but I was just curious, since we have you here, your thoughts. I know there's some LSU connections between both staffs now with Joe Brady in Carolina and Dave and some of the guys that he brought with him, but Joey and David Wetzel and Sean Bell are still here, but there's been a lot of additions. Just what do you think of what you know about this new Baylor coaching staff and what they may be able to do in the future?
Well, obviously, I'm on the outside looking in, but I know Dave Aranda, and I think what's really cool is, we've evaluated about 14 LSU players total, and about 7 of their defensive players. I've watched more LSU defensive film than I ever would have, and I think as you get to know those players on defense, and you can tell that they're really well coached, they're really well taught, everything's done at a high level. My interactions with Coach Aranda, I've talked to him 1 or 2 times, are that he's a quality man, and you obviously know he's a great coach and a great teacher. And, I think he stands for what, Baylor stands for. I think the fact that, he went there and kept, promoted Corey, kept the strength coach, kept, as you said, David and Joey and Sean and many more, other guys that are working in the building, Mike Wallace and James Blanchard. It just shows that he's a really strong man internally, and he's not going to go in there and just get rid of anybody that was here on the previous staff. And that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people are like, I don't want anyone here that was but Dave is a great coach and an even better person, and he knows that he's going to do it his way, and he wants the best people around him. And you know what? I think that was, I tried to do the same thing when I got here. I didn't just get rid of everyone. I kept 2 coaches that were on the previous staff, kept a lot of operational people here in Carolina, and I just have a lot of respect for that. And so I think the future is very bright. Obviously, these are difficult times in college football with everything that's happening.
Right.
But you know what? When you have Mack Rhodes and you have Linda Livingstone and you have Jeremiah Dickey, when you have that type of leader and you have those types of people, you're going to weather the storm.
Matt, when you take a job, and I think it was like January 6th or whatever day it was, and you then become the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, you did an interview with me that day, you did it with some other media as well, and the next thing you know, you're the head coach of the Panthers. That's your focus. How difficult was it looking back? The players were gone. You really didn't have a chance to engage with fans at all. Was that kind of an uncomfortable where you wish you would have had more opportunities to say goodbye?
I was talking to my dad. My parents were still in Waco. I was talking to my dad like 2 weeks ago, and I think he was saying just how disappointed he was. He never got a chance to say goodbye to the staff and players, and I've never gotten a chance. I haven't seen, Joey since the day I don't think, maybe I saw him one day. I haven't seen Sean, I haven't seen the players. Like, I didn't get to go, hug guys or, I had to send out a text, which is not my way of doing things, but it's the only way I could get it out before it got out in the media. And, a lot of kids called me and a lot of kids talked to me, and that was really part of it. That was great. But, it's certainly not the way I would have wanted to do things. But, people always say there's really no great timing for taking a new job. It is what it is. But, I care deeply about those kids and love those kids and would have loved to have seen them. With regards to the people in Waco, I've had a chance to be back now as we were getting ready to move. I think I spent like 4 days there one weekend and 5 maybe another time. And as I went out and about, I wasn't sure what I would see or what would happen. And people were beyond kind. And so, we loved living there. We loved the people that were there. And, it was a great time in our lives, a great time in our kids' lives. And so, we have friends there. And so, it was good to be back. And, if I talk too long, just tell me to shut up. But my son and I were out walking, in the middle of the quarantine and we're walking around a park together and a dog comes up to us and people say, "Hey, sorry." And they live in our neighborhood and they're Baylor grads and they're, I've met more Baylor people since being here or gotten messages from them. So it feels good to know that while people can be disappointed and sometimes even angry that we left, we get all that. You hope that people appreciate that in a really, really hard time. My staff and I and our families came to Waco and hopefully got things going back in the right direction. And, Coach Miranda and then will take it and continue great things.
You are living a dream. This was something that was always a part of your bucket list, to be able to be a head football coach of the NFL under some crazy and very unknown and even unique times. Is it everything you thought it would be in 4 months?
Well, I love what I'm doing. I'll say that. Are there days where I wake up and miss getting up at 6 a.m. and doing off-season program with the college kids? Yeah, absolutely. But I think as this pandemic's over and we get back into it, I can't wait to get back at that. So I'm really pleased to be here and pleased to I work for a great owner. I have a great GM. It's just a great situation in a great town. But at the end of the day, I also love what I was doing. I love that team. I love those kids. So, it's pretty cool. I'm just looking forward to, us, all of us getting life back to normal and getting back to the work of actually being a coach as opposed to, sitting in my house behind a computer.
Well, I want to end it with this. No more questions for you. Thanks for being a part of the show. You're one of 32 people in the world who have a job as an NFL head coach. And I thought it was very timely that you do the interview with us on a Monday, because that was where and when we always sat down in your office and the access and the time. Hey, I know we've gotten way much more time than we would get from most any NFL coach. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Good luck going forward, and hopefully we'll be able to see it. I last time I saw you were in a barbershop. You were getting your hair cut back when you came back into town. Yeah. I think it was right before the Senior Bowl. So, hey, thanks for your time, Matt. Appreciate it, and good luck. Tell Bravion, and we'll have Tech on here in a little bit. What a great story that is. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
All right. That's Matt Rhule, head football coach of the Carolina Panthers.
That was awesome.
Yeah, and that's great to have him on. We'll have Robert Rubel, the new head coach at Robinson, Sam Tecklenburg an hour from now, who was retired basically from football. In fact, did we not have him on sometime after that? And now he's going to give it another go.
Yeah.
Craig, anything from Matt?
I just am kind of soaking in what all he had to say there. Nothing in particular. I mean, I think he addressed pretty much any question people would still have for him that he wasn't maybe able to answer because of the quick exit and the transition into Carolina. There were a lot of, I think, mixed feelings originally on him just kind of abruptly leaving, but that was also, like he said, the timing and just sort of the way things worked out. And I'm glad that he at least got an opportunity to kind of open up on that, and it wasn't any ill will or, because you know how people are, they immediately like, oh, he didn't say goodbye, he hates us, he didn't like Baylor, he didn't want to be here. Like people go off the edge on stuff like that, and it's like, no, really, he just had a lot going on, and it wasn't ideal, but it was what it was. And I enjoy hearing him talk, and I enjoy hearing him talk about his players, and so that was pretty cool.
Yep. What's interesting is we just had him on, and one of the questions, more questions to me, hey, will you ask him about his goodbye or whatever? And you can get stuck on that. And
Yeah.
I can have people get, we're in an age where people can get overly sensitive or just actually that's how they feel. And on the Willis Law Firm chat room on Sikkim365.com in the premium section, I had Swinton and also a couple of others ask us, and we did. So we appreciate that. And Alpha Needle, good interview, Smokey, Paul, and Craig, much appreciated. You're welcome. I know that some, when he left, you're done with him.
Yeah.
However, I want to reiterate this again. We just had one of 32 jobs in the world on this show to start us off, and now we will look at those who are part of Baylor headed to the NFL. Tecklenburg, Denzel Mims, 5:30, and also James Lynch at 4:30. Coming up next, Robinson High School has a new head football coach. He was promoted from defensive coordinator. Robert Rubel is next. R.C. Slocum at 4. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Ideal MRI. I got a call today from Dr. Robert Maxey, and he said, hey, I want you to come by our location, which is in the Central Texas Marketplace, and all of us, in fact, Paul, Craig as well, and come and let us kind of take you through the steps of what someone will do if they use what we have with our equipment and our technology and our specialist when it comes to Ideal MRI. The title sponsor of this show, helping to bring down the cost of healthcare, maintaining high quality at the same time. Significant illnesses and injuries still occur, and that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you right now during this difficult time, offering premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology, and you'll pay less, sometimes even thousands of dollars less. They'll also accept insurance, no hidden cost. There will not be a bill in the mail later to you. Also, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home as well. You can call them at 833-IDEAL-MRI, 833-IDEAL-MRI. You can go online, idealmri.com. Together we'll get through this together with idealmri.com.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hi, this is Mark Bird, head football coach at Whitney High School, home of the Wildcats, and you're listening to Sikkim 365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Waco, Texas, a place with its own unique history and a future bright with promise. Full of remarkable growth and opportunity, and what makes it all work is its people, families, raising children, growing businesses. Wacoans are hardworking with a passion for what's next, and we're proud to be from here, helping Waco to grow and prosper. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breast, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80/20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35, marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread, fresh carrots and Idaho or red beet potatoes or white onions, pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
So in the middle of all this, we just heard from Matt Rhule, Carolina Panthers. R.C. Slocum, former A&M, great head coach, will join us today at 4 o'clock. But in the middle of all this, there are still high school jobs that are being filled, some that will become empty over the next few weeks. That happens as well. Not sure about as many now because of what we're dealing with COVID, but we're now joined by Robert Rubel. He's the new head football coach at Robinson, promoted as defensive coordinator. That was earlier today. Robert, thanks for your time. Paul, Catalina, Craig, and David Smoke. What does today mean to you?
Oh man, it's very humbling. You know, I'm just so proud to be able to take control of this program. The thing about it is this staff that we have and this group of kids that we have are just unbelievable. And to be honored to be able to be put in charge and to really more than anything, the ability to keep working with this group of guys that we have on our staff and to keep working with these kids that we have. I'm so fired up about it. And, you know, all of the emotions that you can think of are what I'm feeling right now. But really proud more than anything to say that I'm the head coach at Robinson High School.
Coach, you obviously you've been there, so you know the players a little bit. How much of an advantage does it give you, especially now that you don't get to really spend any time with them any time in the foreseeable future?
I think obviously, you know, it helps. You know, one of the things that we talked about when I interviewed was my familiarity with not just the players, but with the current coaching staff, with the administration, with the ins and outs of Robinson High School, you know, with knowing Robinson, Texas as a city, and loving it here. And then obviously, too, the district. I mean, being familiar with all of our opponents. And so, you know, I felt like that was a huge advantage for me and something that I wanted to make sure that the familiarity with all that we were doing stayed the same for these kids and for this coaching staff. And so it's a huge bonus for us, especially now, because with what you guys are talking about with the COVID, I mean, we may not be able to get back with these kids until, you know, maybe July or August. And so the fact that they know me and we can hit this thing running from day one and that they're going to be ready to go. And obviously that's a huge bonus for us.
Coach, how are your players handling this, not as players, but as just young men in a very weird time right now? And I know not everybody always has the best living situation, so not everybody can just go home and eat Cheetos and be happy. So just in dealing with your players on an individual basis, how do you think they've handled all this?
I think they've done great. I mean, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but we get texts and phone calls and videos and all those things from these guys on a daily basis of them going through the workouts that we've posted and them, you know, trying to stay in contact and taking care of their business with their classes and all those things. So I would say a majority of them have really answered the bell on this thing, and we're real proud of them, the way they've handled it.
You have been a coach at both the high school and college level. You were a head coach, I think, is at Tabor College, right, in Kansas.
That's correct.
And then you've been at Buffalo High School, so you've been. Is there any difference really in coaching, whether it's the college or high school level, other than the age, or maybe how much more mature in college some of the kids are?
Yeah, I've got a buddy of mine that's kind of been on the same path I have. He spent a lot of time in college, spent some time in high school, and we always joke, you have headaches everywhere you go. They're just different headaches. And so it is and it isn't. I mean, it's the thing that I really enjoy about this level, especially now. I'm going to be able to kind of work both sides of the ball, and I just have such a love for the game that I really enjoy. I'll do some defense, and then the fact that now I can walk down and watch the offense practice. I mean, I get a lot of joy out of that, and so there are some differences, but in the end, it's football. It's 11 on 11, and you still have to do the little things right to have success. And I mean, sometimes your players are a little better at some places than they are at others. But for the most part, all things being equal, it's still football, regardless of what level you're at. And if you attack it that way, then you're going to be happy with what you're doing.
How much will you change any of the systems that you're just to maybe fit you as a head coach, or will you guys kind of run what you've been running?
Defensively will probably stay the same. Offensively, we're going to have to make a few adjustments because we're not going to have the same, what's the word I'm looking for?
Personnel.
Talent level. Well, personnel. Yeah, talent level with the personnel. We're gonna have talented players, but they're better at some things than they are others, and so we're gonna have to change some things, personnel wise. But I feel like we're still gonna be explosive. We've got some good players coming back who did a lot of good for us this past season, and we've got a young group of kids coming up that were really good, and so we're excited about the opportunity to kind of blend those two groups together. But we are going to have to change some things, and not necessarily for my philosophy, but just for the fact that we need to put kids in the best position to succeed. And so offensively, we are going to have to do a few different things. So, but we're still going to be explosive. We're still going to be fun to watch, and we're going to do our best to get the most out of our kids.
Coach, I was wondering maybe what are some things you picked up on the last couple of years from Tommy Allison, who obviously had a great run there, and for you personally, who was the coach that made you want to seek out this profession and make it your own?
Oh my gosh, I learned a lot from Tommy. I mean, just dealing with people. It's always this is a very management-oriented position. Dealing with people, the ins and outs of Robinson, how things worked in the high school and how things worked in the town, and little things on ways to practice and things of that nature that I've never come across before. And so I learned a lot from him, and I'm thankful for my 2 years that I got to work for him. And I would, to be honest with you, I've been playing this game since I was 8 years old, and my dad, well, he's really my stepfather, but my dad basically coached me from the time I was 8, and all the way till I was, went to high school. So, I got a lot from him. And then, when I went and played in college, a guy named Ron Steele was my position coach when I played in college, and so, I mean, just, I kind of knew pretty early on that I wanted just to be a football coach. And so, I just tried to learn from as many people as I could on my way up.
Well, Midwestern State, you play the quarterback position, so you got a little bit of that in your blood, but you've been a defensive coach for quite a bit as well. What is it like now? Jay Zeller, of course, the AD. Robinson went to the split of the AD and head football coach, and some other schools are doing that. La Vega and China Spring are unique because of Willie Williams and Mark Bell. Does that change anything up at all, the way it's now set up for football?
I don't think it does. Being a Texas high school football coach is man, that might be one of the best jobs in the world. And for me, it meant nothing. I knew I wanted to be the head football coach. When we knew that Coach Allison was leaving, I knew that I wanted to be the guy here, and so I didn't care. I didn't care if I was the AD or not. It made no difference to me. I feel like with Coach Zeller coming in, he's a guy, we haven't spent a lot of time together, but the time we spent together, it sounds like he's really, he wants to do things the right way. He and I are on the same page as far as making sure that we're taking care of the kids that we're taking care of coaches and their families, and that we're doing the things we need to do. We're going to hold kids accountable. And so we're on the same page with everything. So for me, anyway, the split doesn't bother me one bit. And so I'm excited about working with Coach Ellis. Our staff at the high school, our administrative staff at the high school, it's the best I've ever been around. So all of that stuff didn't bother me one bit because I feel like we're all on the same page with what we're trying to accomplish.
Congratulations, Robert. Thank you very much, Coach. Appreciate you being a part of the show. Robert Rubel, the head coach at Robinson High School. He went to Midwestern State, played quarterback and punter. Has also been at Cisco, North Dakota State College of Science, Abilene Christian, Tabor, East Central. He's also coached at Buffalo, among other schools as well throughout his career. Coming up next, we went from a head football coach in the NFL, Matt Rhule, to the new head coach at Robinson and Robert Rubel. And now coming up next, one of the great coaches in Southwest Conference history, R.C. Slocum of A&M. James Lynch at 4:30 today. Much more to come. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their convenient, easy-to-access drive-thru window open right now. You can call them up and tell them what your order is. You can drive right up, get it, or you can just drive up to the window and tell them what you want, each and everything you want, and they'll go in the store and get it for you, and you can do it that way. All right, on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco, Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now, Balcones whiskey, including single malt. Love it. Pot still. Love it even more. Baby Blue, maybe my favorite. French Oak, Rye, and Brimstone, all there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, a hidden gem in Waco, family-owned and operated on Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less, sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one, commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Hi, this is Jerry Bomar, head football coach at Groesbeck High School, and you're listening to Sikkim 365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue.
It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed. Smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's Group meal.
Next in line.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Duggan rolls, looking Rager's way, throws, and picked off. Braylon Arnold stepped right in front and made the pick for Baylor.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. When life is stressful, there's an ideal solution. Ideal MRI. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Matt Rhule, and then a high school coach from Robinson, Robert Rubel, in the first hour. We'll have James Lynch of now Minnesota, the Vikings, and Sam Tecklenburg, who's a part of the Panthers. They'll join us in this hour, but we start off with a Hall of Fame coach in R.C. Slocum, former Texas A&M head coach. Coach, thanks for being a part of the show. He's also a committee member on the college football playoffs, and we got to avoid that because, well, we have to. That's the way it needs to be. Since you stopped coaching, how often does it, when you watch a game, does your coaching blood kind of percolate a little bit?
Every game day. You know, I see a lot of football, watch a lot of games on television. I go to a lot of games, and then with the committee work, I watch teams all over the country, and so you can't do that. You know, my whole life from a kid playing football in junior high and high school and college, and then coaching for all those years, it's part of my life, a big part of my life. And I love watching the games. I love watching the coaches coach and watching the young men play the game. And it's a thrilling game. And you know, you're always looking at, you know, what are they going to do now, or what's happening, or whatever. So I enjoy it.
I know that you had a couple of stints really at A&M, separated by a year when you were at USC, but did you think that when you got there that was going to be your forever job, that was it for you?
You know, as a young guy, you probably don't think that. I was thrilled. I was at Kansas State, and I got a chance to come to A&M with Emory Bellard, and someone that I really respected and really had a great experience working for Emory. But I was young and ambitious, and, you know, I was just trying to do a good job at A&M, but also down the road, no doubt I was planning to someday be a head coach. And it's kind of some of the deals with that in mind. After a few years at A&M, I was totally satisfied with A&M and loved working for Emory, but I was ambitious. So at one point, I almost went with Lou Holtz to Arkansas. Lou had offered me a job. I went up there and interviewed and was offered a job, and I almost went. I backed out right at the last minute. And then a year later, Steve Sloan was at Texas Tech and was going to Ole Miss. And I knew Steve and liked Steve. And, you know, all I knew about Ole Miss was Johnny Vaught and going to like 28 straight bowl games. And, you know, I had a high opinion of Ole Miss. I never had been there. And Steve was, they were in the Peach Bowl. We were in the Bluebonnet Bowl, and he was under pressure to fill his staff. And so he was putting the heat on me, and I said, okay, I'll go. And so after we played in the Bluebonnet Bowl, I got on a plane the next day, flew to Memphis. They picked me up, drove to Oxford, and just spent the day there. And that night went out with the staff, and I loved, you know, like Romeo Cornell was on that staff, and some really good coaches. But I just didn't feel good about it. So that night, I called Emory, and I called his house, and his wife said, "RC, I don't know where he is. I mean, he's out in West Texas somewhere speaking at a banquet." I said, "You don't know where?" And he said, "No, I think he said Pampa." I said, "Okay." So I hung up. In those days, I called information at Pampa High School. I got the main number or the cafeteria. I said, "Give me the cafeteria." So I called, and sure enough, they were having a banquet. and Emory's the speaker. Got him on the phone. I said, Coach, have you filled my position yet? He said, no. I said, would you have me back? He said, certainly. I told you not to go. I said, I'll be back tomorrow. So, anyway, I came back to A&M, and I stayed until then. John Robinson had just won the national championship at USC and offered me the defensive coordinating job out there. And I'd met John earlier and liked him, and went out to L.A. for the interview, and he and I really hit it off well, and it was a dramatic change for somebody from Orange, Texas to move to Los Angeles. Orange County, Texas, and Orange County, California are worlds apart.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I went there, and then a year later, A&M had made a coaching change, and Jackie called me and wanted to know if I'd come. We'd led the league in defense out there, and he asked me if I'd come back and be the defensive coordinator. So I said, yeah, I'm tired of fighting these freeways out here, and Texas sounds pretty good. So I came back again, still not. I had no intention at that time coming back. It did not cross my mind that someday I'd be the head coach of A&M, because I figured I was going there with Jackie. I figured he'd be there. I thought we'd be successful, but I did think that I could move from there as easily as I could from Southern Cal to a head job, and then the rest is history, I guess. But it's been a fun ride. It was a fun ride. And after I got the head job at A&M, there were other opportunities. I had a chance to go to LSU as a head coach. I had a chance in '93, I think it was. Arizona Cardinals offered me the head job. And I never sought another job because I was where, by that time, it felt like home to me, and that's where I wanted to be. I was from Texas, and I had so many friends by that time, high school coaches, and just Aggie friends, and I was where I wanted to be. And I looked around at guys like Coach Brawls and Coach Rhule, Bo Schembechler, Pat Dye at Auburn. All those guys kind of had an identity. They found a good place and stayed there. And I thought that was a pretty good. I wasn't someone just to jump up and go to the first place that pay me a little more money. I wasn't into that. I was where I wanted to be.
You had, now that you reflect back on that, you had so many opportunities to go. I mean, you did go to USC, as you mentioned. It's hard not to say yes to John Robinson. They were fantastic back then. But I
was there when Marcus won the Heisman Trophy, and I had Jack Del Rio as a young linebacker. I actually spent time recruiting Jack when I first got out there. He came in, started as a true freshman, an inside linebacker, and a bunch of really good players. That was a great experience for me. I worked with Norv Turner and Hudson Houck and Gil Haskell and Marv Goo. We had a great coaching staff, and I still keep up with John. I keep up with all those guys. Marv's not with us anymore. Hudson and Norv and Gil I stay in touch with, and I saw John down at the national championship game, he and his wife. He's at LSU now. He's coaching at LSU, if you can believe that.
Wow. You mentioned Crennel and Norv Turner and then Del Rio. These are guys that are still very active on and off. What's going on? Are you amazed that they've been able to, and I know you said you coached Del Rio as a player, so he was much younger, but a lot of these guys are still around. Crennel, Turner, the longevity of them has been amazing.
Well, Hudson was in Dallas. They brought him back a year ago as an offensive line consultant and then made him an offensive line coach. But he's retired, and I talk to him on a regular basis. Norv, every year he says it's going to be his last, but then he'll go for one more. So. But great guys and great coach. I was saying that was a really important time for me. Number one, we had really good players, and I saw how important it was to recruit great players. But we had we played one game there. We were number one in the nation. OU was number two. We played them on national TV and beat them in the Coliseum. We went back, beat Notre Dame with Jerry Fowles back in South Bend. We beat UCLA with Terry Donahue, and so got to be in a big game atmosphere and at a place that was a big time place.
We're talking to R.C. Slocum on Sikkim 365 Radio. Paul?
Coach, one of the things that hasn't quite – you had a great run, and maybe I think the best run against Texas, and obviously they're not playing each other anymore, that any coach at A&M ever had. What was the key to you guys flipping that script finally?
One thing that I always felt, I had great respect for Texas. Of course, I knew Coach Rhule and Dave McWilliams was a friend, and all the guys that came along there. Mac and I had been friends long before he got to Texas. And having grown up in Texas and watched the A&M Texas game, I came to first major college game I ever attended. An Aggie from my hometown named Homer Stark brought me up to College Station in junior high to go to Bonfire and to watch the A&M Texas game. And A&M lost that day, but it was such an exciting thing to be in that stadium and to see that game. And one of the things I'm proud of, I coached in that game more than anybody in history on either side of the rivalry for either school. I coached 30 times in that game. And I'm proud to say that I walked off the field 16 of those times on the winning side.
Coach, what was it about Kyle Field during your stretch, particularly in the 90s, where it became such a difficult place to play? What do you think was some of the magic behind that?
I think there were two things. You asked me a question, and in my mind, the answer is, number one, the 12th man, the student body that stands throughout the ball game, the atmosphere they created was really important. Second thing, I recruited primarily from the state of Texas. And I always felt like, the kids would have to answer to me on game day and after the game. But more importantly, every game we played at Kyle Field, I had Grandma and Grandpa and Aunt Lucy and Uncle Joe and Mom and Dad and little sister and little brother and all of them. When that young man came out of the locker room, he'd look up in the stands and all his people were there. Once a year, we'd have a family game, and the parents, the dads would barbecue and the mothers would cook, and we'd have all the families get together and where they get to know each other. And so I think the togetherness, having Texas kids with their friends watching them play, we went in that 10-year period. We had 2 times we had the longest home winning streak in college football, and I think the total we lost 4 times at home in 10 years. And I credit, first of all, the 12th man, the student body at A&M, and the great atmosphere. People would come in there, and then they got to where it was really hard to win there, and it was hard for us to lose there because we were in it. If we just kept playing, the crowd, I think the crowd would magnify the problems of the opponent, and they would minimize. They stayed with us, and it was a great place to play. It had to be as good a place. And I've been to Alabama, to Michigan, to Ohio State, to Notre Dame, UCLA, Oklahoma, Nebraska, all of them. There weren't any better than Texas A&M during that period of time.
When you watch Sean, he's at Arizona State, I believe, still at Arizona State. When you watch him coach, do you get nervous?
Oh, I watch those games. I had someone a few years ago. They played Arizona State and A&M played.
Mm-hmm.
And Houston went to the game, and they asked me about that. And I said, I'll be pulling really hard for him, but when it gets down to it, I'm not pulling against A&M, and he knows that and respects that. But I talked to him today, in fact, and they're like everyone else. They just don't know what's going to happen now. They don't know what's going on. They got in about 10 days of spring training, I think, early, and they've done nothing since then. So. Everybody is kind of waiting just to feel this thing out. I don't think anybody has a real good handle on how it's going to work. There were a lot of questions that everybody knows about, and that is, particularly in the state of Texas here, in September games in Texas, you can count on it being 90 plus. It may be 105, but it'll be at least 90. And you can't put 50, 60, 70, 80, 90,000 people in a stadium without having access to a whole lot of water. And so then you say, well, how do you do that? How do you put that many people? And that's not far from now. That's not far down the road. I mean, how do you put that many people in there and not have accommodations where are you going to have lines at a concession stand? You going to have people walking through the stands? You going to have people sitting next to each other? So those are all questions. It's not for me to answer those questions, but there are a lot of questions. And then you get the questions about, you've got coaches, managers. Nowadays, a lot of coaches too. A lot of coaches, managers, trainers, videographers, support staff, all those people, team doctors. That's a lot of people. And you're going to bring them in and put them together to try to get ready to play a game. And I've seen statements where some of the presidents, and I tend to agree with them, have said, if it's not safe for the regular student body to come back and go to school, then we can't bring in the student athletes and tell them it's okay for y'all to come in. So I don't know. All those things, someone else is going to have to answer all that. But I've talked to a lot of coaches. They're all kind of just, they don't know what to think. No one's ever experienced this before.
Do you think, though, that because
one point that, excuse me for interrupting you there, but one point that Sean made today, he was at Green Bay when they had the player lock out or walk out or whatever, and they didn't practice at all. They came back in and had a few weeks there and started off the season. They went 15-1 that year. So he said, and that's at a different level. It's at the National Football League level. But they came in with no summer training camp or any of that stuff and just took off. So.
Optimistically, though, are there the minds in place in college athletics to figure out something, even if it is a delayed season, to get football back? Because it is the centerpiece of every athletic department.
You've got some great people working on it. Our commissioner in the SEC, I'm very impressed with. Really a very smart guy that's on top of things. He's a thinker. He's involved in a lot of discussions. We've got, of course, our AD here and people everywhere. I've got a lot of respect. I got a lot of respect for Bob Bowlesby. He's on top of things. He knows the lay of the land. And so they will come up with something. They'll come up with something taking everything into consideration. And one of the issues, of course, everybody faces, there's such a financial issue there that, if there's a way to make it work, they will make it work. Because without football and without the television revenue, there are people all over the country, everybody would feel a serious impact.
Coach Slocum, one more thing. That Dave Aranda is the new head coach at Baylor, and he was in the SEC, of course, had the national championship, the defense at LSU. They had the great offense as well with Ed Orgeron. Your thoughts about Dave Aranda, his first head coaching job, his mentality of defense, and Baylor played really, really good defense a year ago, different people now. Your thoughts about his transition?
Well, I've not been close friends with Dave, but I have watched him closely coach and been very impressed with the job that he did. He's one of the premier defensive coaches in college football and playing in a tough league. And I mean, he's done a great job. And so I thought he was a good choice. He's got big shoes to fill because the guy before him was a magician. I thought Rhule did just a phenomenal job. Coming in the situation he was in, the situation Dave's coming into is not as hard. I don't think it's what it was with when Matt came in, but from a different standpoint, though, there are high expectations right now, justifiably so. They've been a really good football team, and but he's got all the qualifications. I'm sure he'll do a great job.
We appreciate your time very much. Thanks for your time, Coach. Always great to take you down a trip down memory lane, and good luck with you and in the work. Hopefully, at some point, who knows when you guys might start to convene again and start looking at the possibility of the next national championship. We appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Good talk to you.
That's R.C. Slocum, Texas Sports Hall of Fame. His record at A&M, I want you to think about this in the day and age of where, A&M's trying Jimbo Fisher, what they're trying to do. 123, 47, and 2. 3-8 in bowl games, but they played some really good people. Sometimes bowl game records are very deceiving on whether you're a quality coach or not. 3 Southwest Conference championships. They beat K-State, shocked them in that overtime, double overtime. Was it double overtime in 1998 when they knocked Kansas State out of a national championship? Hall of Fame college football coach, inducted back in 2012. When he took over for Jackie, I think it was Cheryl, right? Yeah. And he said, I know people think you have to do this to win. We're going to do this right. Craig?
Yeah, with his record, I've seen, even A&M websites have gone back to kind of review his accomplishments. And one thing that those bowl games show is that they could go and beat up on some pretty good teams. He definitely was able to feast on a very lackluster Southwest Conference there towards the end, as others were able to as well. So I think, that's kind of part of that record being so great, but it was also that he was a really, really good stinking coach. Don't get me wrong, but it's just interesting to see even, like I said, A&M fans look back on his tenure and say, maybe he could have been a little bit more of this or a little more of that or whatever,
He's the greatest coach in their history, and Bear Bryant coached there. But Bear Bryant was only there for 4 years. R.C. Slocum was the greatest coach in their history, and I'll tell you this, the reason I think they were 3-8 in bowl games was because of what you said. The Southwest Conference was down, and they'd wind up playing somebody like Florida State or Notre Dame or Ohio State in a game, and those teams at that time, especially at the end of the Southwest Conference, because the Southwest Conference collapsed in itself because they didn't care about what was going outside of this state, they were just a little bit better because they were recruiting nationally, and that's where they kind of fell short.
Coming up next, we got a quick little segment here, I think, but at 4:30, Minnesota Vikings defensive lineman James Lynch, Sam Tecklenburg, offensive lineman out of retirement with the Carolina Panthers, and how does he get through medical clearance? Also today at 5:30, we'll hear from Denzel Mims of the New York Jets. Sikkim 365 Radio. Dr. Kent Petty. PettyClinicLowT.com. Be the high-performance man that you want to be. Are you sluggish? Do you kind of lack energy? Do you feel that just something's not quite right? Well, one, it means your diet could be off. Number two, it could be you need to exercise. And number three, get better sleep. But also the possibility, if you're a man, as you get older through life, your testosterone levels can drop. It's just natural. Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that make a difference, including higher energy, stamina, improved sex drive, because you have an opportunity to raise your testosterone levels if they've dropped too low. You can also look for cholesterol, also prostate cancer screening, cardiac and heart disease risk, EKG, diabetes screening. That is what he can find out and put you in a plan to make you the high-performance man you want. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
Hi, this is Slato High School football coach Alan Hare, and I am a proud listener and supporter of the all-new Sikkim 365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
All right, the NFL draft is over. Cowboys ended up, we had mentioned CeeDee Lamb on Friday's show, then Trayvon Diggs. The fact that his brother is a wide receiver now. He used to be with the Vikings, made that dramatic catch with the Saints. Who's he now playing for? Stephon Buffalo?
Buffalo, yeah. Got traded.
And Gallimore, I like him, an active tackle inside. Robinson, the corner from Tulsa. They got a center from Wisconsin. You can never go wrong with a center from Wisconsin. Travis Frederick, of course, was a much higher pick. And then Bradley Anai, that's the one that seems to be intriguing from Utah, the defensive end. And Ben DiNucci, the quarterback at James Madison. All right, Craig, all 14 players, Baylor, where they were drafted and or signed following the draft.
Well, I got to say first that Reggie Robinson must be one heck of a corner to be drafted in the 4th round off a Tulsa defense. Because if you've watched Tulsa at all over the last few years, then you know there's not a lot of defense being played. It is very much reminiscent of the early days of Art Briles, of points being scored and a lot of points being given up. But he must be a heck of a player, like I said, to get drafted off of that defense. But as far as the draft picks for Baylor over the weekend, there were 4 of them, obviously, and the last one I think was a lot of fun. But Denzel Mims goes first. He goes in round number 2, and he is headed to the New York Jets. And hopefully he has a little bit of a better stay there than Bryce Petty did, or a lot of people end up having, because the Jets are, not the best run franchise at times. So hopefully for Denzel, he can overcome that little bit of a curse. But he goes to the Jets. James Lynch, round 4 to the Minnesota Vikings. Bravion Roy, round 6 to the Panthers, which was a great feel-good moment. And then Clay Johnston, round 7 to the LA Rams. And Clay has already endeared himself to that fan base and become a fan favorite just because of some of the videos of his reaction to being drafted, including his draft call that dropped earlier today, which was a lot like his other reaction videos of just wanting to run through a door, pumped up, fired up, all that good stuff. So very cool for Clay.
He and I traded a couple texts on Saturday. I sent him a text congratulating him, and he was just so fired up. And I talked to his father, Kent Johnston, now the return to play specialist with the Panthers, and they're just fired up. I think I like there are several drafts I liked. The Rams was one of them, mostly because they drafted Cam Akers in the 2nd round, and I think he'll be the rookie of the year. There was a stat on Cam Akers. They did the top running backs who had the most yards after getting hit in the backfield, and he was number 1 33% of the time. The next guy was at like 12%,
oh, wow.
So it wasn't even close. But I do think the Rams, I think he fits in well there, the kind of defense that they play. They already have Bryce Hager there, another Baylor linebacker, so kind of cool that he's going there.
Yep, so those 4 were your draft picks, Mims, Lynch, Roy, and Johnston, and then it was on to the undrafteds, and there was a lot of those. JaMychal Hasty, running back, headed to the 49ers. Corner Graylin Arnold signs with the Eagles. Henry Black, who is kind of a tweener linebacker, defensive back type of player, but he signs with the Packers. Jamison Houston to the Cleveland Browns. Ross Matisic, long snapper, headed to the Jaguars. Safety Chris Miller, Seahawks. Defensive lineman James Lockhart, Steelers. Blake Lynch, who joined us a few days ago, he signs with the Vikings, so I think he'll be reuniting with Greg Roberts up there in Minnesota, and also James Lynch, and Jordan Williams, linebacker. We didn't talk a ton about him because there really, wasn't a lot of buzz around him, but he signs with the Atlanta Falcons. So a lot of new teams for Baylor players. A lot of guys spread out all over the league. But, and Sam Tecklenburg of Carolina, there's 10 undrafted free agent signings plus the 4 draft picks of 14 new Bears in the NFL.
And Harrison Hand is also with the Vikings.
And I don't count him, though. I don't count. I get a lot of people have brought him up when I put out a list, but he didn't finish his career at Baylor. But, you can lump him in there, too.
Yep. All right, so coming up next, James Lynch, Minnesota Vikings. I think it's a great fit. I had a chance to meet or visit today with one of their media relations people. They love him already. And he'll join us next. James Lynch of Baylor with Now the Vikings on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodway. PettyClinicLowT.com.
Hi, this is Conley football coach Shane Anderson. I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new Sikkim 365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Ellinger under pressure. Sack. James Lynch. He's got the number now. He's now the all-time sack leader.
This NFL draft segment on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac at the Imperial exit off Loop 340 in Waco.
We heard from Matt Rhule to start the show. We'll hear from Denzel Mims in an hour. Also, Sam Tecklenburg, the old man coming out of retirement, it appears. He'll join us in the next segment. Right now, joined by Minnesota defensive lineman and former Baylor All-American James Lynch. Have you gotten used to that, James? Thanks for being on the show, the Minnesota Vikings defensive lineman.
Thank you guys for having me, of course. It is kind of weird hearing that. It's still awesome, a good feeling. I haven't gotten used to it, so I kind of like when people say it, obviously. It's nice to hear.
Well, there's no question that when you went and finally there was the pick of James Lynch, first thing I thought about Minnesota Vikings was Mike Zimmer and the defense that he loves to play. What was your reaction other than being happy you're drafted about the possibility of being hooked into his defense?
Yeah, I had a formal meeting with them at the Combine, and I told my agent right after I met with them that I kind of fell in love with them and just their organization and the way they did things. And I've watched them the last few years, obviously, and seen how their defense plays and just their team. So, obviously, being able to be a part of that organization is going to be an awesome feeling, and I can't wait to get up there.
Is it pretty cool? Also, you've got Blake Lynch is there. I think Greg Roberts is still there, right, Craig? And you've got some familiar faces when you move up there.
Yeah, they picked up Harrison Hand as well, and because I played with him my freshman year, and they have a tackle, Ezra Cleveland. I know him pretty well. I worked out with him, so I know a couple guys, which is really nice. And it'll be nice to just kind of meet the whole team as well and just kind of get used to everything up there.
James, what has the last couple of days been like? Take us into into the shoes, I should say, of a player who's been freshly drafted, especially during this very unorthodox time. What has kind of been your routine? What have you had to do? Who have you had to talk to? That kind of jazz since getting that phone call.
Yeah, so I've just been obviously just kind of came with some of the players and talking to coaches and just kind of setting up all the stuff that I need to make sure I got, because right now we'll start virtual meetings soon, and making sure I got the right stuff, my iPad set up and all that kind of stuff. So it's not much that's happened so far, just kind of staying in my same routine where I'm in Waco just working out and making sure I'm in shape, and then making sure I'm ready for meetings when they start up and just being ready to help the team win.
All right, now I don't know. I didn't see that. I read a lot of articles about what the Vikings and what Chris Spielman or Mike Zimmer or others said about you. Was it true, or is it true that Spielman said that you're a bowling ball of butcher knives? Is that right?
I have not heard that. I did not know that was said, but I take that as a compliment. Obviously, he meant that in a good way, so I find that kind of funny. I like that. But I have not heard that personally. No, I did not hear that.
All right.
You are stepping into a franchise, defensive line-wise, that's got a history. I mean, it's one of the few that has a name for a defensive line back in the 70s and the Purple People Eaters. Will you have to go back and take a history lesson and learn about guys like Alan Page and Jim Marshall and guys like that?
Oh, of course. I mean, at the Combine, I was lucky enough to have my mentor be John Randall, and I talked to him a little bit today, actually, over Instagram. We're just kind of communicating, and I told him it's an honor to be able to be a part of such an organization, and with the people they have, that means so much to this game that I can learn so much, and not just benefit myself, but also learn the game itself and just learn the history of this great game. And like you said, it's just going to be a cool experience to be able to do that.
So, James, where were you when you were watching the draft, and when you finally get that phone call? I imagine it's a big sense of relief and also one of excitement, but I'd imagine it's also very fun to tell your family what's going on. So just what was kind of the Lynch family's reaction to how that all unfolded for you on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of people know my mom as being the loud woman at the stadium, so once my name was called on the TV, she was freaking out. My whole family's there. I was back in Round Rock, and I mean, for myself, I was just so excited. My hand was shaking on the phone. I couldn't really hold still. So obviously, I was going kind of crazy. I was trying to stay calm while I was on the phone, but as soon as they hung up, hugging all my family and just experiencing that moment with the people that kind of got me to where I am. I mean, you can't really explain it, and I'm so blessed that I was able to have the opportunity.
How difficult was it to wait until Saturday for the call?
I wouldn't say it was difficult. I was just kind of waiting for my moment. And luckily, I got picked by a team that I was really excited to play for, and I can't really wait to get up there. So waiting wasn't a big deal for me. I was with my family, and I've been through things with them. So when Minnesota called, I couldn't have been any happier.
Does your mom know how to scream? Skull? Has she already learned all that?
Yeah, they watched some of the videos and stuff while I was up there doing. I was talking to some of the coaches, and I came back downstairs. They're all saying the Skull chant, stuff like that. So it's kind of fun.
God. That's awesome. That's awesome.
What does it mean to your group of guys at Baylor that 14 of you are now assigned or drafted to NFL teams?
It's unreal. I've talked to a lot of the guys, but I was talking to Clay specifically, and just saying how I'm just so happy that all of them at least get a shot and they get to show that kind of who we are and how we play the game. And I know a lot of them. I hope all of them make teams because I know the way we play, and I know that once a coach sees them play, that they're going to fall in love with them. So just seeing all of them go so many different places, and I get to luckily play with Blake Lynch again is a great feeling, and I'm super happy about it.
Any surprise that Clay's already becoming a bit of a fan favorite based on his personality? The LA fans seeing his reaction to being drafted, did that come as any surprise to you?
Oh, not at all. I mean, I told every team Clay Johnson's the most diehard football player, selfless guy. So whenever he got that call, I saw the video. I mean, I kind of just not teared up, but like just seeing him in that reaction, it was so genuine. I mean, I love that guy. So seeing him have that moment with his family was awesome. Obviously,
3 years ago, when Coach Rhule arrived at Baylor, he was discussing how he wants to turn you guys obviously into better young men, but also better pros as far as the opportunity to play the game. You were a highly recruited player. Everyone knows that. Did you believe him 3 years ago when he said that could happen, where you'd have 14 guys in a camp or at least a part of an NFL roster after 1-11?
The way he talked to me, yeah, I did. And I would be lying if I didn't think it'd be hard to believe after you go 1-11, but the way we did things and the way they coached us and the way that he ran the organization that we had there and the way things were done. I mean, if you were in the locker room every day, you'd realize that after 3 years, it's pretty hard not to be where we are because of the way they did things. And I give a lot of credit to him and the whole staff as well, with the trainers and even the academics. I mean, we did things there that were run a lot better than anywhere else. So I was pretty blessed. All of us there were pretty blessed to have them come in and do the things that they did for us.
How much gasoline does it take to fill up your motor? Because it seems like it's never on empty.
Well, that's another thing I give a lot of credit to. Obviously, the way I was raised, but being with Coach Snow, he makes you realize that if you're not giving full effort on every play, like, why would you be on the field? So just the way they taught us and the way they changed our mindset on how the game's supposed to be played and the way it should be played. So it's just trying to make a play for your team and playing with having fun with your team out there. So for me, it wasn't hard. It's just trying to play the game of football.
And you're going to a place, a franchise with incredibly passionate fans. They've been on the edge. They've been close and so close. And it's great that you're a part of that franchise, the Vikings.
James, I just got to warn you. I know that if you've been up there at all, it's probably not been when we were there. Smokey and I were there a couple years ago for the Super Bowl in February. Here's what I need you to. Here's what I need you to do a couple times a week, just to get yourself ready. I need you to walk into a walk-in freezer, a meat locker, a butcher shop, and I need you to just sit in there for like 20 minutes. Like, just sit in there and take it in, because that's exactly what it feels. It's worse, actually, when you walk outside into that, and you hear people say, like, oh, it's not bad today, it's just -4.
Yeah, that's a little different than what I'm used to, but I'm excited about it, just the whole new culture and just being up there in a new city, and I know it's beautiful, so I'm excited about it.
It's a very passionate base, no question about it. Craig, anything else? Hey, James, we've had you on, since the time you decided to leave. We had you on then, obviously leading up to what we thought was going to be some pro days did not work out, but we had you on then, and we've had you on now after the draft. It's been great. You're a fantastic role model for the players who are still at Baylor. Congratulations. Enjoy the ride, and we'll hopefully see you in a game sometime soon.
Thank you so much.
Man, that's a good young man right there. Zimmer and the Vikings are thrilled.
It's a great fit. It's a great fit.
And I did speak with one of the media relations guys, and they were like thrilled about James Lynch and already what they've had. Just working with him for interviews already, they see what we see.
I'll tell you, I think that a part of the equation to having success in the pros is ultimately your fit. And I think there's some guys, it's not a majority of guys, it doesn't happen a ton, but there are guys who may be pretty good players, but the way they start off their NFL careers and who they start off with kind of puts them behind the 8 ball. If you went to Cleveland a few years ago, kind of screwed right out of the gates, quite frankly. And for James, I just think, like you guys, that it's a perfect fit. Couldn't be more thrilled for him to be going to that organization in particular. Feel the same way with Bravion and the Panthers and a few of the others. I do worry about Denzel just because of the Jets, but I think he can overcome that. So I'm glad to see guys not only getting picked up, but also getting picked up in good places where I think they'll get great coaching and have a good support system.
And they're kind of locked in now that you roll with the tide based on what you have or who you're with or whatever they want you to do. When we come back, I thought he was retired. I think he thought he was retired, but he got a call from Matt Rhule, Sam Tecklenburg, former Baylor offensive lineman. His next phase, his next journey. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
March means 21 years of serving Waco and Central Texas. Well, we're in April, so they've had the service of Central Texas going on for over 21 years now. That's Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Richard Carr employees are the people you can count on to get you in a car or truck safely and on your terms. The showroom is disinfected daily. Employee health is closely monitored. Hands are washed and disinfected with great frequency. And the Richard Carr sales staff will bring you a car to test drive, and they can also complete the financing online. Right now, all 2020 Buick Encores, Enclaves in stock are 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers, plus Richard Carr anniversary savings. They also have the 2020 GMC Sierras, Acadias, Terrains, and Canyons. They're all 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers, plus Richard Carr anniversary savings. They're your local family dealer and proud Baylor Bear alumni, and they want the chance to earn your business. Great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, and in-town priority warranty service all comes with your purchase at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac.
Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodward. PettyClinicLowT.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
We're approaching the time to announce the 10th Annual Academic All-Stars Team, 20 elite student athletes who excel in both academic and athletic competition from Central Texas high schools. And right now, focused on the nominations that have come through so many great young men and women to choose from. Hi, this is David Smoke. Our title sponsor, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952. 2020 Academic All-Stars program is also brought to you by
Westdale Asset Management, Englander Design Pack, Bentwood Realty, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Coca-Cola of Waco, Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, HEB, the McLean Group, Universal Windows Direct, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and the Waco Foundation.
We will announce the team on Friday, May the 1st, and highlight them throughout the month of May. It's the 10th Annual Academic All-Stars Team, highlighting the elite student athletes in Greater Central Texas, right here on Sikkim 365 Radio. If you'll recall, Sam Tecklenburg was one of those grown blank men on the Baylor offensive line. He then appeared as if football was over. We talked with Sam during that time, and then all of a sudden over the weekend, Craig reached out to me and said, hey, Sam Tecklenburg's going to join the Carolina Panthers, and Sam Tecklenburg, one of the old men of the Baylor football team that went to the Sugar Bowl, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. What changed for you, my man?
Being away from football even just for that long, and I felt myself wanting to play more and more. And at this point, I wasn't sure if I would even have an opportunity. But when Coach Rhule called, I knew I had to take that chance. Part of me did want to play really bad still, so I'm fired up, and ready to be back.
How does your body feel?
It's good now. I mean, that was part of it after the season. Just really beat up physically and mentally, it's worn down as I've ever been for sure. But I feel pretty good these days. Had some time off and ready to get back to work.
So Sam, take us through this. Did you have any idea that this was a possibility in the last few days? Was it like an out of the blue phone call from Coach Rhule? I mean, kind of take us through that, and what was your reaction initially? Because and you said you thought about continuing to play, but didn't know if you'd have the opportunity. I mean, it's not often like the head coach of the Panthers just calls you up when you've already been retired. So can you kind of take us through that?
Yeah, we talked a couple times over the past few months, him just checking in on me. He told me probably back in February. He'd check in with me down the road just to kind of see where I was at. So I wasn't sure when he was going to do that. On Saturday, it was in the back of my head that he might give me a call. I wasn't sure if he would or not. But when he did, I told him I had to think about it because I wasn't sure if he'd call at all or not. So I told him that Saturday and talked it out with my family that night and the next morning, and decided that it was the best move for me.
What does that mean to you that, he's got plenty of offensive line prospects out there he could just go and draft or sign undrafted, but the fact that he kept in touch with you, obviously you guys had a great relationship from the last 3 years, but, just what does that mean to you personally that the relationship you developed turned into a situation where now he's bringing you out of retirement to come back and play the game at the professional level?
I think it says he knows what he's going to get out of me. He knows how much I love football. And if I made the choice to come back and play, he knew what he was going to get out of me. And he was he was right for calling. I mean, that thought had been growing in my head, especially as the draft day was getting closer and closer by the weeks and days. And I'm so glad he called me because this is the best I've felt in a long time, to be honest. Just happy to be back doing what I love. I think, to answer your question, I think he knows what he's going to get out of me, so I'm grateful for the opportunity.
What if somebody else from one of the other 31 teams had called you? Would it feel the same?
I think it's definitely special because it's with Coach Rhule and a lot of staff that I'm familiar with, so it's special in that regard. But I think if anyone has called, I think just the opportunity to play again. I honestly don't think I would have been able to eventually say no to anyone. But just the fact that Coach Rhule, realistically, he was probably the only one that was going to call me after the draft. I told a lot of teams leading up to the draft that even in the past couple of weeks, just that I wasn't playing anymore. The teams that had an interest probably, I wasn't even on their radar for that opportunity. So I knew he was the only one that would give me a call, if anyone. And definitely glad he did.
Did he tell you, he mentioned this, I remember when you made the move on offensive line, but that he said very early on to the media that he thought you would be an NFL offensive lineman if you switched positions. Is that what he told you from the jump when you did that?
He's told me that a few times throughout the year. Or throughout the years that I've known him. I think that was the vision he had. When he first got there, obviously the initial vision was to make me a college offensive lineman and the best one to help the team. But I think he's always mentioned that throughout the years that he thinks I'd have a chance to do it at the next level if I wanted to. So I do think he sees something in me. So hopefully I can prove him right.
So you're basically retired. You're tired. Your body's just flat out had given up pretty much. How do you make sure that what you're thinking now is not something that's an adrenaline rush from just the excitement of maybe a chance to play? Is your body, where is it now physically? You mentioned it's better, but how about, conditioning? Have you been able to do much? We don't know when you're going to ever get back on the practice field.
Yeah. No, I haven't been doing much conditioning. I've talked to Coach Rhule about that. I do think that's an area I will be able to get back quickly. I've already run a few times since yesterday. Feel pretty good. I've been working out. I've been working at Baylor in the weight room part-time for Corey Campbell. So I have been lifting weights, but, probably not running as much as I would have needed to, or doing position drills. But, I got right after that this week. And given the situation of our country, it helps me out, because I have some time before to get in shape before I have to show up in person. And I've talked to Coach Rhule about that, and he knows I'm going to put the work in to be ready to go.
Well, Sam, I think you're probably, based on the history of the NFL, guys used to work in the offseason selling insurance or doing that and smoking cigarettes and drinking whiskey all night long. So I think you're probably ahead of the curve when it comes to that.
Yeah. You got to think too, though. It's a time where every other young player coming in, they've been working out the past few months, so I do have some catching up to do to them. But I think I can do it. I'm going to work my tail off. But yeah, it was, I think I don't regret anything. I think given where I was in January, it was the right decision. And I think given where I was 2 days ago, it was the right decision. I think just that time was really good for my body and my mind. It kind of gave me some clarity what I needed to do.
You mentioned Corey Campbell and working out at Baylor. He's now the head strength and conditioning coach, replacing Jeremy Scott, who you'll be working out again under out in Carolina. What kind of insight can you give us into Corey Campbell? And it seems to be a pretty popular decision from what I've been able to gather that Dave Aranda decided to promote him.
Yeah, Corey's one of the most special people I've ever been around. One of the hardest working people. He's a natural at his job. There isn't one player in that building that has a bad thing to say about him. Everyone loves him. It's so obvious to the team how important that job is to him and how important the players are to him. So I think it was an unbelievable opportunity. I'm really happy for him. To be in that position, at the point in life he's in, he's earned it. He's earned every bit of it. And I'm grateful for the past few months. I haven't been sitting around the past few months doing nothing. I got to work for him. Since January, that's right where I went to for work. I couldn't ask for a better boss. I've learned a lot. Had a ton of good conversations with him. Someone I can go to for advice. So he's an awesome person. I'm glad he's in my life. I'm glad he's in the position he's in to have an impact on those players there.
So when the announcement came down that you were going to be signing with Carolina, I had been keeping track of guys, and you became the 14th player to already be drafted or sign undrafted. 4 draft picks, 10 undrafted free agents. Sam, I know that you guys had a lot of hope and you guys had a lot of confidence that there would be a bunch of players going off to the next level, but 14 guys, is that even a little startling to you? And how happy, proud are you of the fact that so many of your teammates, including yourself, are getting this opportunity?
I'm incredibly proud. That group of guys, I've been with most of them 4 or 5 years. It's a special group of guys, whether they were drafted or undrafted. I know they're going to stand out wherever they're going. They're going to be successful in whatever they do in life. It's a bunch of hard workers. It's a bunch of dogs. It's a relentless group of dudes. It's some special guys in that group, and just glad to be a part of that group and back chasing my dream alongside them.
Hey, man, thank you, Tech. We appreciate you for when you were with us, the emotions of it looked like you were never going to play football again, and now the opportunity, that door's open. We can understand that, the three of us, about all of a sudden the door's closed and then it's open again, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you, and you know what? it's fun how things can change, and I could feel it in your voice because it did seem like you were pretty beat down when we had you on the last time. Appreciate your time and good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Sam Tecklenburg of the Carolina Panthers has not yet signed his contract. And I asked him this. I said, how, if your body was like exhausted, how about passing a physical? And so those are things, and it's not like he had a knee injury or a shoulder injury. He'll have to still do that, but he said it was more mental. And that's what he kind of told us as well.
He was really, really, really upset with that Sugar Bowl loss. I remember him very clearly in that post game just being, it's the weight of your career being over for him, like his career, because we didn't see this forthcoming in, the next few months. So I'm glad he's not ending on that note. But, yeah, I just remember in particular the one-on-one I did with Denzel and just how upset Tech was with that Georgia loss. So this is a really cool opportunity for him, and he was number 14, so that's pretty awesome. We're going to have all these guys to cover, and some of them will get cut or whatever, but if a large portion of these guys can make the team, then that's really going to go a long way for not only themselves, but also for Dave Aranda, his recruiting efforts, so on and so forth. So it's a great deal.
Absolutely. In the 5 o'clock hour at 5:30, Denzel Mims of the New York Jets, he'll join us. We'll also look back at the NFL draft coverage of how it went as far as how the networks combined in what I thought was absolutely just sensational. There's going to be some bumps in the road along the way just because technical things can happen, but we'll look at that. We'll also, again, look ahead. We'll go back and say what kind of go back over what Governor Abbott had to say a little bit earlier today. Couple of other notes as well, but we'll have Denzel Mims at 5:30. This is Sikkim 360 Radio. In this day and age of what we've been through for what now, about a month or so, a little bit longer than that, maybe even 5 or 6 weeks, businesses who reacted quickly, thinking outside the box, were able to recoup and some of their revenue. If you just stood around, then man, you know what, you were going to have some problems. And even those who did think outside the box, like Waco Custom Marketplace, not everything's the same. But what they did, taking their grocery store, butcher shop, bakery setup on Lake Air Drive and turning it into a drive-through, was phenomenal. And they did it very, very well. And I went through that about 2 or 3 different times. One time just to get myself a package of a casserole that I wanted to make. Another 2 or 3 times I went in there to get chicken or something else. The drive-thru on the side, go around the back, and they have like a menu for you to check off what you want. They take it inside. They meet you on the side. You pay, and you get your product. And it was very smooth. You can still order from their great butcher shop, including 8-ounce salmon portions or 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90 for 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese, boneless pork chops, and fresh chicken breast, or even an entire 3.5-pound whole chicken. Ribeye steak and sirloin steak and much more. I mentioned there's some casseroles, some of those where you buy it and then you make the casserole. You still got to get chicken or beef or whatever you need, even seafood, and they have seafood. The bakery and the butcher shop is still there, and you can get it by going through the drive-thru. You can call ahead as well. It's Waco Custom Marketplace, thinking outside the box during these difficult times, and it worked at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate at 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Baylor trying to go 6-0. Hasty to the end zone. Touchdown. Baylor wins in double overtime.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. When life is stressful, there's an ideal solution. Ideal MRI. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
I have a couple of thoughts about Last Dance episodes 3 and 4. Let's go first with, and we'll have a couple of recruiting notes about Baylor. Governor Abbott today again mentioning that for now there would be a little bit of a change by the end of the week, April 30th, phase 1, but it's still where the number of people inside of certain establishments will be limited in the cases of 25%. But things are loosening up, but not a lot, but a little bit at a time. Want to make sure they continue to contain the state of Texas COVID-19. Also, then eventually, if things do work out with this new phase 1, that maybe by the middle of May, then phase 2 would kick in. Instead of 25% capacity for certain businesses that are open, you could have 50%. But slowly, methodically, and surely. Now, a Clay Johnston feature. Jason King, he's done like 3 of these in the last 5 or 10 days, but he's fantastic. And he has a feature on Clay Johnston today in the premium section on Sikkim365.com. We're going to release the all-decade football team, the defense tomorrow. One of our guests tomorrow, timing, former defensive coordinator Phil Bennett, who coached a lot of these players, who will make most likely that team, and even those who did from the most recent era of Matt Rhule, who were recruited in some ways by Phil Bennett and company.
You know, one thing that'll be interesting is Phil Bennett will have the perspective, and I saw a couple former Baylor coaches, I think Jim Gush might have been one of them, and they were celebrating these players getting drafted because you'll remember they recruited them. You know, the big difference, though, is they did not hardly coach them at all because they maybe with some of these, like they didn't coach James Lynch at all, obviously, because he was 3 and done, but they got a lot of these guys, the Blake Lynches, the Henry Blacks, etc., for like their freshman year, you know, and they may or may not have even played, but I think Phil Bennett will have a really interesting take on it. And, you know, some of those guys he may have recruited, my point being, some of those guys he may have recruited but didn't have a chance to develop. So It'll be cool to get his insights on just what they thought early about some of those guys or what they saw.
He gave me a great story about Jamison Houston and how he basically, I believe Phil Bennett will tell us, how he called one of the assistant coaches on that Matt Rhule staff and said, get your butt down to go see Jamison Houston. All right, Grayson Grunhafer had this earlier, 6'5", 240-pound prospect, 4-star defensive end out of St. James High School in Louisiana. Let's see here. Baylor made the top 6. And I just lost the name of the person that was on here. That doesn't help anybody out, does it?
No, not really. I was wondering myself.
They had Blackshear. Blackshear's the guy from from about a week ago that was on there. Let me go back and try to find that. I printed it out, and then, of course, like an idiot, I did not.
Savion Jones.
Savion Jones from St. James High School in Louisiana. Now, I also had Carl Campbell ask me this question. He asked me about, let me see, a quarterback out of Wichita Falls who has committed to Virginia, 6'2", 205-pound Wichita Falls High School, class of 2021, had offers from Baylor, Texas Tech, Iowa State, K-State, Indiana, Houston, Hawaii, etc. He is chosen to commit to Virginia as a quarterback. Texas Tech, that's right in their backyard, wanted him as a quarterback. Baylor had offered him as a linebacker.
Tech also has a quarterback commit for this class, too, so they could probably afford to not land him, I would think.
Jacob Rodriguez is the name of the player, okay?
But, yeah, it's a good get, and a lot of recruiting still going on, as we don't have much going on outside of the rest of the world, but we do have a lot of recruiting going on.
So, The Last Dance, episodes 3 and 4, Paul, I've watched part of it with you, another replay, 3 and 4. Craig, did you get to watch episodes 3 and 4?
I watched, I watched a lot of it. I'd need to go back and probably rewatch it again because there's a couple times I had to get up to do something and maybe missed a good quote or not. But for the most part, watching 95% of it, I really enjoyed it. Once again, I think it's been fascinating to see how all of America, at least social media-wise, has really embraced this whole series. And we got a really good look at Dennis Rodman and the figure that he is and was. And we didn't see everything, obviously, but we did get a look at Dennis Rodman, and I enjoyed that. I've always found him kind of an interesting guy.
Okay, Michael Jordan changed sports for everybody. I mean, he's the most influential and biggest athlete, maybe of all time. I mean, you can make the argument at Muhammad Ali and Babe Ruth and guys like that, but Tiger, but I think everybody after Michael Jordan is kind of reliant, like Tiger for his own sport and everything else was, but there's probably no Tiger without Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's kind of this benchmark of this is where the athlete
he's the greatest
exploded
athlete of all time. Yeah, as far as star power goes.
Yeah, star power is Michael Jordan. But I think Dennis Rodman had a profound effect on the way the media and athletes react to the media because he was who he was all the time, unabashed, and now where he was the reason people talk about Dennis Rodman all the time, there was only one of him. Now we have a bunch of guys that are trying to do that. They're all kind of doing Dennis Rodman's thing. Mm-hmm. Like it's sometimes when I see, and no offense to Lady Gaga, she is great, but I feel like every time I watch her, I'm like, you're just doing Madonna's thing. Like you're just doing her game. It works, so do it. But that's kind of how I feel about a lot of these athletes now and Dennis Rodman. Like you're just like the guys who are like Rodman, you are just playing Rodman's role.
Yeah, and speaking of, Rodman and his role, I mean, we got a great look at the Pistons and that rivalry and Bill Laimbeer, MJ's statement on Isaiah Thomas and, the not shaking hands after Game 5 of the 89 Eastern Conference Finals. Just the back and forth there is interesting that there's still bad blood to this day. 20-plus years later, Michael Jordan still... No, I don't believe Isaiah Thomas or whatever it was. You're just kind of brushing off his comments as well. Yeah, in hindsight, it's easy to say that now, but you weren't saying that back then.
I love the way they had him with the tablet along with Horace Grant and others, and they're listening to it. The way they edited it down, but the soundbite from Horace Grant about how Detroit did not shake their hands, which you haven't gotten to that point yet.
No.
His audio, this is from Bruce Feldman, great respect for him. Between the Horace Grant soundbite, MJ on Isaiah, and the video of Jerry Krause dancing, and they told him to sit, that might have been the best 5 minutes in the history of any sports documentary. That part of that documentary, I couldn't move.
Yeah,
watching.
Well, I can't as soon as you clowns leave my house, I'm definitely turning it back on, and we're done with the show. So,
well, we still have a show. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back with a couple of things. Dana White on the UFC decision. A Tulane guard charged with murder. Texas Tech has a player declared for the NFL draft. Much more. Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoke. We'll have Denzel Mims at 5:30. This is and Dylan Chapman's here. Sikkim 365 Radio.
Are you in the market for a new home? Are you trying to sell your current home? If you are, you need to give my friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, a call at 254-214-3713 or online, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com. Lance is one of the best listeners I've ever met, and he's going to listen to every single thing that you need in a new home. He's going to listen to everything you need out of selling your current home, and he's going to find that place for you. He's a funny guy. He's a great guy. He's a person you're going to want to spend time with, because when you are looking for a house, you're going to have to spend some time with a realtor. Why not make it somebody that you like and want to go and do all this stuff with it? Lance Donaldson is that guy. So give him a call, 254-214-3713, or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
So remember, Hurts has great legs. He'll run it to the right side on the move. Touchdown, OU. CD for the TD.
Duke at midfield trying to hang around. Harris loads up and throws, and it's intercepted. Trayvon Diggs.
Backfield for Ellinger. Sam under pressure. Ellinger sacked. All right, how about this? Alex Grinch defense. Neville Gallimore.
This NFL draft segment on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac at the Imperial exit off Loop 340 in Waco.
Dane Brugler, theathletic.com, coming off the sledgehammer of the NFL draft. And one, how much do you sleep? during the lead up. And then seriously, like I had an agent tell me today that said he got about 8.5 hours of sleep maybe since the draft started on Thursday.
Oh yeah, it's a marathon, and it's something that you can always sleep in May. That's what the month of May is for on my calendar. So a lot of work goes into it all year, and once the draft gets going, it's just kind of it's a machine. And kudos to the NFL and everything that they with everything so different here. I thought the draft went off fairly well with the virtual draft and everything else. All the moving parts that were part of it. So a lot of credit to the IT people and everyone behind the scenes who, really made it come off without a hitch.
We'll start with some of the Baylor guys before we get into the Cowboys draft, but Denzel Mims fell all the way to 59. I don't know if he fell to 59, but that's where he was drafted by the Jets. I think a lot of people thought he might have snuck into the bottom of the first round. One, what do you think was the reason that he went at 59 and maybe not before? And is this a good fit for him and the Jets?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Jets, they had a goal going into the draft, and that was to get Sam Darnold help. They wanted to get him at left tackle, and they wanted to get him a playmaking receiver. They did that at 11 with Mekhi Becton, and they did that at 59 with Denzel Mims. And if Denzel Mims comes off the board at 29, no one's batting an eye. No one's saying, oh, wow, I can't believe. No, Mims could have easily gone in the first round, and it's because he checked every box. When you talk about a guy with production, okay, he had over 1,000 yards last year, 12 touchdowns. The body type, the testing, okay, 6'3", 207 pounds, 4.38 at the combine, 6'6" in the 3-cone, and then just the overall talent. Looking what he did at the Senior Bowl, looking at what he did throughout his time in Waco on tape, consistently making catches outside of his frame, using those 34-inch arms to make errant passes, turn those into completion. Does he need to be more consistent as a route runner? Yes. Eliminate some of those drops? Absolutely. But for a player with his size, length, athletic profile, the Jets absolutely got a steal there at 59. I think it'll be a natural fit for him in New York, pairing him with Sam Darnold.
James Lynch, who we'll have on the show today as well with you, Dane, and others, including Matt Rhule and Denzel. Obviously a high motor guy, and he goes to the Vikings. Could that be a fit for him because he's going to Minnesota? They play aggressively. They have Zimmer and his defensive mentality.
That's it, 100%. Mike Zimmer, with the types of players that he looks for. First of all, if you get drafted by a Mike Zimmer coach team, that should be a compliment that you take, because they're not going to waste their time with guys that aren't aggressive, that don't have the mentality, the competitiveness that they are looking for. And even though Lynch probably didn't go as high as maybe he thought he should have, or would have when he left school early, that's just going to be another chip on his shoulder. And for a guy who had USC calling after him and, other, programs around the country, then to go to Baylor and perform like he did. For him to fall in this draft, I think it's going to be something where the Vikings, they had a need at defensive line. And so it's less about where you're drafted, the number, and it's more about where you're drafted, the team. Because if you go to, the right fit with the right team and the right scheme that's going to use you the right way as a 3 technique, who's going to use that aggressive nature, then it's much better to go 30, 50 pounds or 50 picks later. That's fine if it means you're going to the right spot and you're going to be set up better in the long term.
The other two guys that got drafted for Baylor, Bravion Roy went with Matt Rhule in the 5th round to the Panthers, and of course Clay Johnston gets picked up by the Rams. What do you think about the fit for those two guys?
Well, obviously, with Matt Rhule reuniting him with Bravion Roy, who, kind of got the Poona Ford treatment, who, was undrafted out of Texas, a couple years ago and still holding on to a roster spot and playing well for Seattle. Bravion Roy, kind of similar because they don't have the ideal measurables with their height and, their length, things like that. But you just watch him play and you see a guy with the active motor. He can handle double teams, clog up the middle versus the run. Derek Brown and Bravion Roy, they immediately upgraded their defensive line in Carolina. And then Clay Johnston, he was one of my favorite players. When you talk about the day 3 guys, and even though he's coming off the ACL injury, I thought he was a player that was worth a draft pick because the way he played. I thought he was on his way to an All-American type of season before that knee injury halfway through. Just the effort that he plays with, the range. I really like that fit with the Rams, who lost several linebackers to free agency. So I think he's going into a good situation where, because he was the only linebacker that the Rams drafted, as long as he's healthy, I think he's going to a situation where he could possibly see the field. I think he'll see the field on special teams, but possibly get some defensive snaps as well.
Dane, how much did the lack, now that the draft is over, the evidence, the data, and all of the picks are in, how much did the lack of pro days and or personal workouts or whatever hurt some guys that might have been drafted? Have you been able to even dig into that yet?
Well, I thought that, by my count, I think we had 22, 23 non-combine guys get drafted, which is a pretty decent number, all things considered. Usually it's about, 12 guys more than that. Usually it's about 35. So we still had a decent number of non-combine guys hear their name called. But I thought the biggest disconnect from past years was not the pro days, but it was the other thing you mentioned, the workouts, the personal one-on-one workouts, the 30 visits where teams have the opportunity to bring guys into their facility to understand more about them, not just as players, but people. Do they fit schematically? Do they fit with their culture? And so all those things, it allows you to vet more closer, and that's not every team had a chance to do that with these players. And so I thought we saw a very conservative draft, at least through the first half of the first round and throughout the first few rounds, really, with how teams attacked it. Didn't have a non-combine guy get, so I think the fifth round, Kevin Dotson out of Louisiana. So I thought teams were a little more conservative because of the current landscape of the country and everything. But, overall, we still had a good amount of representation from the non-combine players.
Now, just scratching the surface, and obviously we won't know until they actually strap the pads on, but it looks like the Cowboys actually had a very, very good draft in that they didn't do anything wild. They didn't they didn't reach for anybody. They stuck to their board, and really, Dane, looked to me like they hit it out of the park.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. And, I hate doing these grades because, to your point, we just don't know. I mean, whenever you do these things, it's self-serving, it's subjective, but, we still have to do it. And so I don't do the grades. What I do is I list my top 32 draft classes, 1 through 32. And I don't think any team bombed this year. Some teams that would have done something differently. So someone has to be 31, 32. I had the Cowboys at number 2 overall. They're my second favorite draft class because you get CeeDee Lamb at 17. He was my number 7 overall player. And it's different than what the Cowboys have done in the past because instead of going with, the number 1 player on their board was Cleveon Chason, but that was their realistic board. They never even considered that CeeDee Lamb would be there. So when he did, they were able to pivot and go with the better player instead of sticking to their realistic board, which I thought was the best move. And then to get Trevon Diggs at number 51 overall, that was a player that in a certain scenario, they were going to consider Trevon Diggs at number 17. Get him at 51. It's just awesome fit there. The current corners on the roster entering the draft, none are under contract after the 2020 season. So to get Trevon Diggs and then get Reggie Robinson, another really talented corner in the 4th round, love that fit. And then in the 5th round, Bradley Anae from Utah. This guy is a top 100 player. I get it. He's a short-armed rusher, 4'9" in the 40-yard dash. But his first step and his production, no one at Utah has more production in the history of that program than Anae. And then one of my favorite, awards in the Pac-12 where the offensive linemen in that conference vote on the best defensive linemen in that conference. And the offensive linemen voted Bradley Anae as the best defensive lineman in the Pac-12. So it just tells you the type of impact and respect that he had among his peers, and to get him at 179 overall, just a tremendous value for the Cowboys.
I think that's an idea that now these all-conference teams that come out are selected by the coaches, and sometimes maybe it's the SIDs. I think it should be like the Pro Bowl, like not by the fans, but by the players or the All-Pro, excuse me. That they're the ones that have to block against or tackle whatever. Now, Dane, the Cowboys, it was amazing. Like, you didn't think that was available, and then here we are. It's like they have gone to what Pittsburgh, Green Bay, some of those who have had these great runs, and I say good or great runs, that they're allowing the draft now to come to them. Is that, I mean, it's kind of been that way a little bit. How impressed are you that they're doing that, and now not just doing it one draft, but they're doing it multiple drafts?
Yeah, and I think, the number one team, the only team ahead of the Cowboys on my list was the Ravens. And that's a team, a franchise that historically, that's what they do. They allow good players to fall to them. And that's what they did in this draft with Patrick Queen at 28 overall, J.K. Dobbins at 55 overall, and they had 4 third-round draft picks, which, I thought they did well with those. To get James Prochet in the 6th round, another reason the Ravens were my number one team. But yeah, no, I mean, to your point with the Cowboys, it's something where in the past, and you don't know, we don't know, is this something where with a new coaching staff coming in, does that mean that, did that change your philosophy at all? Will McClay, who's, the guy behind the scenes, thankfully, I think he's getting more and more attention these days. I think most Cowboys fans know who Will McClay is, but he's the guy pulling the strings behind the Joneses in terms of the player acquisition, especially through the draft. And I think they're not making those reach picks that they did in the past. They are going with value. They are going, having more of a plan. And, they're not predetermining, okay, we really want to get a corner in this round. Not predetermining which position they're going to target, but rather going after the best talent and, who's going to serve them the best long term. So really refreshing to see that from my perspective, looking at this from a national view. But also, if you're a Cowboys fan, I think you also have to be optimistic about how they played this out.
Did the Texans do the best they could, given the fact that Bill O'Brien doesn't regard the draft and as much of a high level as most GMs do?
Yeah, I think it's a good way to put it, the best they could, especially considering they didn't have a first-round pick. And in the second round, to get Ross Blacklock, who's a really talented defensive tackle, can play different spots on that defensive line from the 0 to the 5 and anywhere in between, quickness, violent hands. So you like that. And I thought the Texans got one of the best day 3 picks with John Reed out of Penn State in the 4th round. He's with the way the Texans love to play man-to-man, John Reed, he's a mosquito at a barbecue with the way he will annoy receivers up and down the field. Doesn't have great size, but he's very quick feet, physical with his hands, good ball skills. So I thought that was an excellent 4th-round pick, one of my favorite day 3 picks that the Texans were able to do.
So, Dane, they have all these picks in. Dane Brugler, again, theathletic.com NFL draft analyst expert with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Now, there's a holding pattern. Like, what do you do? How frustrating is it that you can't, if you're a coaching staff, get your hands on this new blood, this new talent? They got to just sit there and wait.
Yeah, and, there's only so much you can do from, a playbook standpoint and installing certain things, getting these rookies up to speed as much you can with, different, even if it's just the verbiage and things like that, but not being able to, because I know, like myself, I'm not necessarily a visual learner. I learn by doing something. And so not being able to have that hands-on implementation by the coaches, that's something that will affect this rookie class. There's no question about it. And you just hope we're able to get some type of training camp in at some point over the summer. We just, things change week by week, and you just hope we have a season at all. But it's a much different process. And the thing is, too, I'm already looking towards 2021, that draft, because that draft cycle starts now, and this is going to affect that next draft cycle. Are we going to see, maybe more players enter the supplemental draft this summer? Are we going to have a college football season, whether it's, the regular full season or a shortened season, to evaluate these players for the next draft? So it's not just this draft that'll be affected by the virus and everything else going on. Next year's draft and that cycle certainly will be affected as well.
Dane Brugler, hey, man, I know you're coming off that, like I said, a sledgehammer, but you did. I had somebody on our staff, Sikkim 365, when I mentioned we're going to have you on, that nobody does more of a thorough type of overview and summary even before the draft than you do. We mean that. We appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us when you have such a packed schedule even after the draft. Have a great day.
Yeah, best compliment I could receive. So I appreciate it, and thank you for having me on.
That's Dane Brugler, theathletic.com, and the 2020 NFL Draft on Sikkim 365 Radio. We're approaching the time to announce the 10th annual Academic All-Stars team. 20 elite student athletes who excel in both academic and athletic competition from Central Texas high schools. And right now, focused on the nominations that have come through so many great young men and women to choose from. Hi, this is David Smoke. Our title sponsor, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952. 2020 Academic All-Stars program is also brought to you by
Westdale Asset Management, Englander Design Pack, Bentwood Realty, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Coca-Cola of Waco, Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, HEB, the McLean Group, Universal Windows Direct, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and the Waco Foundation.
We will announce the team on Friday, May the 1st, and highlight them throughout the month of May. It's the 10th annual Academic All-Stars team, highlighting the elite student athletes in Greater Central Texas, right here on Sikkim 365 Radio.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at IdealMRI.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breast, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80/20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots and Idaho or red beef potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
This NFL draft segment on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac at the Imperial exit off Loop 340 in Waco.
14 players, 4 drafted, others who signed undrafted, non-drafted free agents from Baylor. We have spoken with Sam Tecklenburg. We've had James Lynch. A lot of the others we had before the draft, including New York Jets wide receiver Denzel Mims. Denzel, when you hear New York Jets wide receiver, what's your reaction? Are you used to that yet?
It kind of haven't clicked in and processed in my head yet, but I mean, it's starting to. It feels all like a dream right now.
All right, so Dangerfield, Texas, to Waco, Texas, to New York. That's a pretty standard jump, isn't it? To go from a pretty medium-sized place to a gigantic city like NYC?
Yeah, it's a big jump, but I believe I'm ready for it, and I'm excited to be a New York Jet, and I'm ready to go be a part of the team.
Ever been to New York City before, Denzel?
I went to New York City one time a couple years ago, and I was just up there just visiting people that I knew, and I loved it.
Well, you're right there, and I mean they have a rabid fan base. Have you heard from some of the Jets fans just through social media? Can you almost feel a little bit of their passion?
Yes, I heard from a lot of them, and I can actually feel it. I love the support. So far, I love the fans, and I feel like I'll grow to love the fans a lot more once the season gets started.
Denzel Mims of the New York Jets, Baylor, and Dangerfield High School, our guest on Sikkim 365 Radio.
So how much have you watched of Sam Darnold before now, and how excited are you to be, a new weapon for him as he continues to grow in his NFL career?
I watched him a few, and just to see what type of player he is, I feel like we'll have a great connection, and I'm excited to work with him, and I'm excited to catch balls from him.
Denzel, what was the draft like for you? You obviously had to wait a little while, maybe longer than you had thought, but regardless, just the waiting it out and then finally getting that phone call. Can you take us through that process and just what that was like for you personally?
It was up and down. I was expected to leave the first day, be gone the first day, and be celebrating by Friday. And, I waited a little longer than I thought. But I fell in the right place, I love the coaches so far. I love coach staff so far. I feel like we're going to have a great bond, and we're going to have a lot of fun.
So I saw that you were at home and you had some family members there with you, decorating. It was all very cool. It was awesome to see y'all celebrate, but when you got that phone call, can you describe the emotions that went through you and then being able to relay to your loved ones of what that phone call was and all those dreams coming true? What was that like?
When I got the phone call, I was, kind of was a little scared, I didn't know what they was going to say. Not scared. Let me take that back. I wasn't scared. I was a little nervous.
Gotcha.
And when I got the phone call, they told me they're gonna make me a New York Jet. A lot of emotions came. I shed a few tears, but then I shook back. And I just thanked them a lot. And I was very excited. This is the most important day of my life, and this is the day I've been waiting for since I was a little kid. And when I got that phone call, I was very happy, and I couldn't be more excited.
I talked to Willie Everett of Dangerfield High School. Of course, the Everett name is a big deal. The Mims name, of course, David played at Baylor, a relative of yours as well. What do you think it means to Dangerfield that you're going to the NFL?
It means a lot. It's been a while to see someone from Dangerfield get drafted, or just East Texas period, and it brought hope back to the youth back there. That it doesn't matter where you come from, you still can make it. And I just what I've been trying to prove to them and show them that you just put the hard work into it and work hard, then my dreams can happen with you.
Have you thought about the amount of work, and I know there's a lot still to be done as you embark in your career, but from the time that you were told you weren't ready to be in the NFL yet to now to be a draft pick and a high one for the New York Jets?
I put in a lot of work, coming up last year, thought I was going to leave last year, but I feel like I wasn't ready. I feel like I had a lot to learn and to prove, and I'm happy with my decision. And, I'm very excited that I stayed.
I'm just curious, Denzel, did Matt Rhule reach out to you at all via text? When he was on with us earlier, he said that he saw you go, and he's like, dang, and then he saw, I think, James Lynch go, and he's like, dang, and he eventually got to get Bravey on, obviously, but did you hear from him at all?
Yeah, after I got drafted, Rhule was one of the first person to congratulate me and tell me how proud he is of me.
Were you a little bit I don't know what the emotion would be, because there you are in the second round. Carolina's got a pick in the second round, and here's your coach who, they need, although they went all defense. Was that a disappointing thing you had to kind of get over when he didn't take you?
Nah, it wasn't. I know the backstory of it, and I wasn't mad. It's a business, and it's a grown man business, and things ain't gonna always go your way.
Mm-hmm.
So I just sat there patiently and waited for my name to get called, and it got called later on that day.
Paul brought this up, and Coach Rhule had said this as well, that back when you were younger, early on, I don't know if it was after your sophomore year or during your junior year, I don't remember, that you were looking at leaving to head to the NFL, and that either a general manager or an NFL scout, someone at that level, sat down and had a discussion with you. Can you take us back through that discussion and exactly what was said, what it meant to you?
It was the discussion started I think I'm gonna say end of my sophomore year. A general manager sat down with me and told me the things that I needed to improve at, and told me the things that I do good at. And I soaked it all in, and I thought about it, and I could have been like, okay, I'm still gonna go, but I got to do what's best for me, and I got to do what's best for my family, and I also wanted my degree. And so staying another year to develop as a young man and just grow up and mature and get better on the field and off the field, that was a great decision that I made of staying.
Your route running just jumped up every single year. Was that one of the things that they told you to get better at as you went? Because last year, some of those routes, I was watching highlights today to get, some audio for you, and just remembering that just some of those, especially those little dig routes that you did, were just so amazing. Was that what you really worked on most to get better from year 3 to year 4?
Yeah, route running was the thing that I needed to work on a lot, and that's something that I worked on a lot, and I put a lot of effort into it. And even when I had surgery, I was still running routes, just trying to make sure that my feet are good, even though that I'm sitting out and I can't catch the ball or anything with a broken hand, I can still run routes.
Denzel, y'all had such a successful draft class when you count the undrafted free agents that one guy even came out of retirement to come play in the NFL. Sam Tecklenburg, yourself, James Lynch, Bravion Roy, Clay Johnson all get drafted, but Jamichael, Graylin, Henry Black, Jameson, Ross Matisic, Chris Miller, James Lockhart, Blake Lynch, Jordan Williams, Tech, 14 guys, Denzel. 14 guys off last year's team are getting an NFL opportunity. How special is that, and what does that mean to you?
It means a lot. It means a lot to see my one of my brothers to go and pursue their dreams and pursue their career. And I'm happy that they still get to continue to do that. Continue to play football and continue to go prove everyone wrong and prove to themselves that they can still play football. And I'm happy and I'm proud of them. I wish I could have one of them on the same team as me, but everything can happen. Everything can happen your way. But it'll be great to play against them one day. Then hopefully one day we can trade jerseys.
Yeah, that'd be great. That means you've made it. And have you done the JETS Jets chant yet? Have you learned that? It's not hard to learn, but have you done it yet?
Yeah, I've done it. On an interview I had actually after I got drafted. It didn't take long to learn
it. Well, why don't you do that for us right now? Go ahead and do that for us.
JETS, Jets.
All right, okay. You could do it better than that. Act like you could a little bit more emphatic than that.
I can, but I'm gonna say.
I'm good.
Save it for a big win.
Yeah.
Hey,
go ahead,
Denzel. I don't know if you maybe have reached out to him or not, but any chance you think you talked to Bryce Petty about just being a Jet? The kind of landscape around you and all those types of things.
No, I haven't got the chance to reach out to him, but I was gonna do that soon, and try to reach out to him to see what it was like in New Jersey, and just hope that everything that he says is accurate, and I'm pretty sure that it's accurate. I feel like the fan base is amazing. It's already amazing to me, and I know I'm gonna have a great time up there.
Denzel, congratulations. It was fantastic to see your name, hear your name, watch the reaction, and you represent Dangerfield, as you said, a part of East Texas that has had some rich bloodlines. And good luck, man. What you did at Baylor, some of the catches, some of the most unbelievable moments in Baylor football the last handful of years. Thanks for your time and enjoy.
Appreciate you. I appreciate y'all having me on.
Thank you. That's Denzel Mims, James Lynch, both represented by Ron Slavin, the agent. Appreciate him. And you know what, he's like, that's the moment doesn't seem to be too big for him. The fact that it's not too big for him. Okay, Paul, we got a break here and then come back. Let's try to get over some other stories. Brett McMurphy's got a story out on the Oversight Committee for College Football. UFC, what's going on with them. A couple of other notes. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac has served Waco and Central Texas for over 21 years. Richard Carr employees are the people you can count on to get you in a car or truck safely and on your terms. You worried about going to the showroom? Well, it's disinfected daily. Every employee's health is closely monitored, and hands are washed and disinfected with great frequency. Richard Carr's sales staff will bring a car to you for a test drive, and they can complete financing online. Right now, all 2020 Buick Encores and Enclaves are in stock. 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers, plus Richard Carr Anniversary Savings. They've also got Richard Carr Anniversary Savings for qualified buyers on 2020 GMC Sierras, Acadias, Terrains, and Canyons. Your local family dealer and proud Baylor Bear alumni want the chance to earn your business. Great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, and in-town priority warranty service all comes with your purchase at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
We're approaching the time to announce the 10th annual Academic All-Stars team, 20 elite student athletes who excel in both academic and athletic competition from Central Texas high schools. And right now, focused on the nominations that have come through so many great young men and women to choose from. Hi, this is David Smoke. Our title sponsor, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952. 2020 Academic All-Stars program is also brought to you by
Westdale Asset Management, Englander Design Pack, Bentwood Realty, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Coca-Cola of Waco, Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, HEB, the McLean Group, Universal Windows Direct, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and the Waco Foundation.
We will announce the team on Friday, May the 1st, and highlight them throughout the month of May. It's the 10th annual Academic All-Stars team, highlighting the elite student athletes in Greater Central Texas, right here on Sikkim 365 Radio.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
All right, a couple of quick notes. Just you guys pop it off because we're almost out of time. Dana White, Craig, UFC, what's going on?
They're bringing events back. They're not going to have any fans in attendance, but there's actually some really interesting quotes in there from him on trying to lead the way to bringing sports back. But yeah, they're planning on bringing events back here in the near future, and the fight game will return. So more live events headed our way.
Ramsey, the guard from Texas Tech, declares for the NFL draft. Of course, NBA draft. Of course, Butler and Maceo Teague are waiting their time to see what he's a 6'4" guy. Pretty good. I mean, he's a guy that was not a surprise when he entered. Whether or not he's got a really good defensive player, we'll figure out. That's another one. Interesting. LSU had 14 players drafted. Southeast Eastern Conference, Alabama had 12. Ohio State, I think, had 14 as well. Did they not? Those three just dominated. The state of Texas had one hell of a run. High school football players being drafted. Yeah, so the SEC, 63 picks, an all-time viewership record, of course, watching the draft. 40, Craig, SEC players in the first 3 rounds. Jeez.
Pretty good.
Big Ten had 48, Pac-12 32. The Big 12 was 5th or 4th at 21.
They also had 2 less teams at least than everybody else.
Yeah.
I don't think that would always make up for the total, but you do have to take into account they've got at least like 4 on average less guys than every other conference just from the start because of 2 less teams, much less the fact that Pac-12, SEC, those are 14-team conferences versus 10.
No, you're right. But even if it's one a team, that's 4. Tayshaun Hightower, Tulane guard, arrested on Saturday, charged with murder in connection with a homicide in Georgia earlier in the month. Also,
and by the way, thanks Tulane for announcing that he's dismissed officially. But also, he had declared for the NBA draft apparently about 10 days after he committed this murder, allegedly.
Update everybody on the Eminem Michael Jordan story. Is this yours or is this you, Paul?
No, it's...
In case you needed a reminder, Michael Jordan's old world competitive fire, ESPN at a 10-hour, don't cut it up. So Eminem, the rapper, was working with Jordan on a shoe collaboration, dropped in for an interview with Sway on Sirius XM, told the story of a phone call with MJ. We were talking, everything was cool, he's super cool, and everything was good until we got to the end of the phone call, and I said, yo, man, when are you going to come to Detroit so I can dunk on you? It was crickets. I remember getting off the phone going, oh, my God, I think I just blew it. To me, in my head, it was a total joke, right? It's so ridiculous for me to think that I could dunk on Jordan. It was one of those things in my head when I was so ridiculous. He has to know I'm joking, but when I got off the phone, I remember thinking, I don't think he knew I was joking. Because watching this documentary, he's very competitive. He thought he had blown a shoe deal with him.
Yeah, and that's Michael Jordan in a nutshell, right? I mean, the most competitive person of all time that Eminem, he just makes a joke about dunking on him, and Michael Jordan just responds with complete silence.
By the way, Bill Laimbeer has commented on it. He's very defiant about
the non-shaking of hands.
Yeah, very defiant for the 91 snub, which you would expect. I think it's very bizarre, and I was always very nervous.
Let's explain. For those who when Detroit was beaten by Chicago finally, the Pistons left the court early. Even Isaiah, there's a video of him ducking so he wouldn't have to look at Jordan or whatever. And that was part of the documentary episode 4 last night.
So now Isaiah Thomas is trying to rewrite history with his own little story. And Bill Laimbeer's not rewriting history. He's just being Bill Laimbeer about it. But Bill Laimbeer's been a WNBA coach for a very long time, and he makes frequent trips to Waco to scout players at Lady Bears games. I've sat next to him at a couple of them, and we've exchanged pleasantries. Hello, how you doing? Oh, that was a nice play. But I am so nervous to ask him anything like, hey, do you want to be on the show? Or do you want to do this? Because I'm afraid I'm going to catch a bow.
If there was ever a great time to get him on, it would be today.
Yeah, it would be. It'd be a great. If you were interested in that history because you're a little bit too young to maybe remember, and like even Dylan. I'm a little bit too young to even remember that all that well because I was like 6-7 years old at the time. But the Bulls-Pistons look that you get in this series is incredible. Not to mention the Rodman stuff as well. Just and probably more than anything else, as Paul will see here in a little while, just the inner workings of that Chicago team. and how there's no way they would have survived in today's media landscape without everything just completely blowing up.
Here's what he said. Why would I regret this, Bill Lambier? Why would I regret it now today? I don't care what the media says about me. I never did. If I did, I'd be a basket case, especially back then.
Yep.
But Horace Grant, and when they finally beat Detroit, and when they knocked Rodman, shoved Pippen into the seats, and how Pippen reacted, how Horace Grant, how Jordan coached Grant up emotionally. It's phenomenal how all that worked together.
Yeah, but it looks like it might turn on its head next week because there's the little teaser that's out there where apparently it was well known that somebody in the locker room was leaking stuff to one of the Chicago newspaper writers, and Michael Jordan flat out says that it was Horace Grant. And then they show Horace Grant, and he's like, I didn't say so. That's all going to be in the mix for next week.
There seems to be some momentum that it might have been Phil Jackson.
Because
remember, he's gone after they.
But Grant emphatically denied it in the little clip that they showed. So that'll be really fun to see next week, and I'm sure Paul will have some thoughts on it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I did want to mention before we go,
20 more minutes left.
There were 2 Central Texas players that were also picked up by teams this weekend. They were not drafted, but there's 14 Baylor guys. But as far as Central Texas in the area that we cover, not counting Austin and all that part, but Waco, Temple, Killeen, Zach Shackelford of Belton, who played at Texas, was their starting center for a while. He has gone to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And JoJo Ward, who we had a lot of fun covering at Midway High School, went and played at TJC and then Hawaii. He is in the perfect landing spot with Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona now.
That'll be a great
shout out to those two.
Thanks to Ideal MRI, our title sponsor of Sikkim 365 Radio, Boozer's Jewelers, Petty Clinic, Low T, First National Bank of Central Texas, Waco Custom Marketplace, Realtor Camille Johnson, Personal Trainer Christy London, Willis Law Firm, Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, Edward Jones, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, Tom Albers, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lance Donaldson Realty, Stonewood Dental, Westdale Real Estate and Asset Management, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, McLean Group, Milo All Day, and the Tyler Candle Company.
Support local businesses.
For Craig Smoke, for Dylan Chapman, Paul Catalina, great job. I'm David Smoke. Thank you for listening whenever you do, however long it might be.